Tydefill, roadworks have closed the A470 southbound with diversions. In Devon, between the A35 and the A303, the A30 eastbound has lane closures due to an incident. And on the trains, Storm Flores will affect Avanti West Coast services today. Travellers are advised not to journey north of Preston. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
It's been an exceptional event, Dawn. Armed Forces Day, raising money for veterans and their families.
Well done.
Thank you so much. Very kind of you. It's been exceptional, really. I've got a lovely medal, which is another big win for the team. I just want to bring in Nick and Amanda. Amanda here is a veteran of the Australian Navy. She's married to Nick, who's a serving Royal Navy officer. How are you feeling, Amanda? Great success. Well done.
My legs are hurting, but I'm so happy that we've been here today. It's just been so much fun, it really has, and for such a great cause.
And this is a charity you both support very closely, Nick.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, the armed forces protect the nation. SAPA protects the armed forces. We're really happy to be out today. It's been a super reception right the way along the route. Loads of lovely people out today, so it's been good fun. Sore legs.
And both of you met through the Navy, of course. It's an exciting armed forces love story. It must be wonderful for you to both give back to the armed forces community today.
Absolutely, and we will never stop giving back. You know, we're Matlows at heart. I'm a veteran. I work for an aerospace and defence company who are going to match our donations that we raise, and it's just really exciting. So we'll always keep giving back.
And Nick, for you, you're still serving, but you must have such a close connection with our veterans community as well. Many people you must have known on this walk here today, over 1,200.
Yes.
How does it feel still serving in the Royal Navy, seeing how many members of the armed forces continue to support veterans and their families?
I think you never leave the armed forces. You never leave it, and it's lovely to see that the relationships that you form in service continue after. And you know, we work very hard to stay connected to all of our old shipmates and people that we've worked with for many years and sort of sat alongside in some odd places around the world.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Good morning. It is 9:30 on Monday, the 4th of August, live across the UK. It's Dawn Newsom caught napping there. This is Britain's Newsroom with Andrew Pearce and Dawn Newsom.
OK, your story is this out. Asylum hotel row. Police make arrests outside the hotel, Britannia Hotel in Canary Wharf, as protesters, including women and children, let their feelings be known.
About the hotels used to house asylum seekers. And the Reform Party are having a press conference. Government in waiting. Nigel Farage will be giving another speech shortly as he continues to outline what a reform UK government would look like in the area of law and order.
Indeed. And Smash the Gangs, the government has announced an additional £100 million of your money to fund its one-in, one-out migrant returns deal with France. But as small boat crossings top 25,000 so far this year, will this have any impact at all?
Storm Flores has hit the UK. Unseasonably strong winds are battering parts of the country today, with the Met Office yellow weather warnings in place until tomorrow.
Yes, there is danger to life warnings in place, with gusts up to 90 miles an hour across the northwest and Scotland as Storm Flores batters Britain.
Amber weather warnings.
Right. No, we don't need weather warnings at all. We're grown-ups. Did you see the one at the weekend where the Met Office were advising you how to open and close doors?
Ah, that's helpful. Yeah, because you wouldn't know, would you?
No.
Scotland's having a storm. Shock horror. Who'd have thought it?
I know.
Would you have ever thought that?
It's a bit windy and a bit rainy, so make sure you shut your doors. I mean, in all the insane stuff, that was the one that I thought was a bit mad. I mean, they do treat us like children, don't they? I've got a bone to pick with you in any case.
Why?
Well, because this is your fault.
Well,
You are patient zero.
Yeah, I'm afraid I had a shocker of a... I came back from my holiday and I came back and went down with a horrible cold, sore throat, passed it on to you.
So you shared it
Passed it on to
amongst
Miriam,
your colleagues.
and Miriam Cates has got it too.
Yes, I know.
Lots of people have got
Yes,
it, but,
it's caring, sharing, Andrew Pearce.
And I've still got it.
But you're soldiering on.
I am.
Yes. Keeping me company this morning. Any case, this show isn't about us waffling on about our ailments. This is all about you and your comments. So let us know what you're thinking about any of the stories we're discussing today. gbnews.com/your say and join in that conversation. But first, it's the 60-second news update with Sophia Hill.
Very good morning. The headlines from the GB Newsroom. The government is pumping an extra £100 million into its fight against people smuggling gangs. The funding will bolster the UK's returns deal with France and pay for 300 new National Crime Agency officers. One person has been arrested during a demonstration outside a migrant hotel in London after fresh protests took place over the weekend, with more than 100 people gathering outside the Britannia Hotel in Canary Wharf on Sunday. And Storm Flores is set to bring unseasonably powerful winds to parts of the UK today, with gusts possibly reaching 85 miles per hour along the Scottish coastlines. That's as an amber weather warning comes into force. And pro-Palestinian activists are planning to target Labour MPs, councillors and officers today, demanding a tougher stance against Israel. Millions of drivers could be owed compensation over mis-sold car finance, and the regulator says payouts could total up to £18 billion. Those are the headlines for now. More news at the top of the hour.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Hello and welcome. This is Britain's Newsroom live across the UK on GB News. I'm Andrew Pearce and Dawn Neeson is in the hot seat.
Yes, live-ish, I think is the phrase this morning. OK, your main story is this hour. The BBC is facing fresh controversy after the corporation announced it is launching a probe into alleged cocaine use by two stars of Strictly Come Dancing.
But we don't know which ones, do we?
I think we can hazard a guess, but we don't know.
But we won't on air.
No.
Now, this is just the latest in a long line of scandals to hit the corporation's flagship programme. They've had bullying allegations against several of the show's professional dancers.
Yeah, and former contestant Wyn Evans was also accused of inappropriate behaviour.
Go compare.
I think he was comparing things he shouldn't have been comparing, to be honest with you.
And that's all over for him now, isn't it?
It really is, yeah.
So the BBC have made a statement saying that we have clear protocols and policies in place for dealing with any serious complaints raised with us. We'd always encourage people to speak to us if they have concerns. It would not be appropriate to comment further.
Now, we must also make it clear that GB News does not condone drug use in any way. Yeah, I mean, obviously that goes as the standard. But the thing is, Andrew, it's just another scandal for the BBC.
And it goes on
I mean, it just goes on and on.
Tim Davie, the Director General, how long does he survive?
It's just, well, I mean, how long can he survive? I mean, it's just one thing after another.
The Celebrity Chef programme has imploded.
Yes.
Road and
Greg Wallace.
Both gone. Mm-hmm. The first accused of inappropriate behaviour, the other one accused of racist behaviour.
Yeah, and then the One show, they had issues, didn't they? One of their presenters, he had to leave.
Yeah.
It's just non-stop. It doesn't matter. I mean, look, it's a big organisation. There's lots of people that work there, but, you know, they are funded by us as well.
Yeah, and actually, it's a hugely popular programme, even though it's been running for, 20-odd years.
Yeah.
Would you like to do it, admit it?
What, Strictly Come Dancing? No, I had the rhythm of the plank. I would be absolutely dreadful. But I noticed Eamon and Ellie were talking this morning about our SAS, celebrity SAS thing, you know, where they have to go on. Yeah, they have to go on.
Which one of those two is thinking of doing that?
Well, I'd love... No, I don't think Eamon... But I'd love to do that.
Would you?
Yeah. Or the jungle. I'd love to do the jungle. Not be filmed. I don't want to be filmed, but just like the physical challenge.
No, you have to be filmed if you go in the jungle because it's a reality TV show.
But come on, details.
No,
what would you like to do then? Would you like to do Strictly?
If I was to be offered any of them...
Shake a mean towel feather.
I probably would like Strictly.
Really?
Yeah.
I bet you look good in lycra with a few sparkles on it.
Now...
Just see that now.
Now, moving on, protests have been continuing outside the Britannia International Hotel in Canary Wharf after a busload of migrants were moved in during the early hours of Saturday. Presumably, Dawn, they thought they did it in the early hours. Nobody would notice.
Straight away.
Nobody's going to notice.
Got my name badge.
Nobody's going to notice.
No, I know. And
it just makes it worse, doesn't it?
It is worse. I mean, the thing is, this is my local area. I live in East London. I live in Tower Hamlets, that's my local council, and this is a really nice hotel. It is a 4-star hotel in the financial area of London. And we have in my local borough, it's one of the poorest boroughs in London as well, we have 3,200 homeless families in the borough, OK? And half the children live in poverty. But they can... It's not even Tower Hamlets' fault, to be honest with you, because Tower Hamlets weren't given a choice.
Well, no,
it's
imposed
by the government and said we're putting migrants up in this hotel.
Yeah.
But can you imagine if you're a little kid living down the road there?
Yeah.
Sort of like, you know, in terrible accommodation.
And it's around £80 a night if you want to stay there as a guest.
Oh, yeah, good luck with getting a room there for £80 a night. I'll tell you what, you're really not going to. Yeah. If you want to stay there at a weekend, it's about £200 a night. It's ridiculous.
So there have been many more protests, which include many women and children, and they were sparked by that lack of community consultation and concerns about safety and cohesion.
Yes, OK. To tell us more is journalist Jack Hadfield, who has been down there reporting from the actual protest. Jack, good to see you. Thank you for coming in. Now, I know, I mean, some of the women I know who work in the Canary Wharf area were down there wearing their pink and singing songs. And it was a really nice, peaceful protest about women and girls and their safety and their rights, which sounded like a good thing, but it seemed to have been hijacked, unfortunately.
Yeah, so the thing with that is obviously the women and girls protest, the women and children protest was a march that started just after 12 from the Jubilee tube station in Canary Wharf, where they marched down towards the Britannia Hotel, you know, singing "What do we want? Stop the boats when we want them now," etc. And they obviously then continued their protest with a peaceful sit-in outside the Britannia Hotel in the middle of the road there. But what happened when those other men, those masked men, turned up later on, that was actually part of a second protest that was scheduled at 3 p.m. For that day. So the community organised 2 protests, the first being just for the women and children, all together in pink, and then the second one for 3 p.m. was for everybody else to turn up to make those voices heard. So when those men turned up with balaclavas and flares, that was just before 3 p.m, just as part of the second protest.
And did they do it just to deliberately disrupt the protest?
No, I believe they were there, you know, to have a show of force in that, you know, that they were, you know, they were standing up, you know, for themselves. They didn't want to be intimidated by, obviously, the migrants in the hotel who obviously have been intimidating the women and girls around. You know, we all know, obviously, the sexual assault cases that sparked off some of these protests. We just heard about, obviously, Nuneaton, just heard of the attempted kidnapping charge in Manchester just yesterday. And obviously Epping started off the sexual assault charge.
And what do we know about these migrants who've arrived at this hotel in Canary Wharf, and why did they think it was clever to bring them in the early hours, Jack?
Well, I think one reason why they brought them in the early hours is because people had been standing around outside the Britannia Hotel pretty much most of the time. Even when there weren't protests, there were usually around 5 to 10 people just keeping watch. And clearly, the government didn't want there to be the big signs of everybody being bussed in one go. But unfortunately for them, somebody was still keeping watch at 1:33 in the morning.
This is just not a good look, is it, Andrew? It's like, you know, they're almost like, you know, well, we're going to do it. We're going to do it under the cover of darkness, so we avoid causing more social unrest, which leads to more social unrest.
I know, and we think about 30 went in?
Yes, that's probably around that number, just off the coach. I've seen footage from other people in the local area who have been, you know, capturing images of the migrants going in and out of the hotel. I haven't seen any more coach loads. I think it would be hard for them to get anybody else in other than that. So one coach load would probably be about my current estimation for how many are in the hotel.
And are they predominantly young men in their 30s?
Yeah, no, I haven't seen any footage of women and children. No, the only footage I've seen are those who are protesting outside the hotel.
Yeah.
And you covered the Epping protests as well, didn't you? It's a similar kind of vibe, I'm assuming.
Yes, I believe Epping will be doing a women and girls protest, everyone turning up in pink on Friday. I believe that's their plan. So I think this is spreading more. Obviously, the first Epping protest I went to 2 weeks ago on last Sunday, there were, you know, women and girls standing out first. But I think the whole pink messaging, everyone turning up in pink, just to really highlight the threat that these asylum seekers pose to some of the most vulnerable community members is, I think, is going to be spreading and will catch on throughout some of the other protests throughout the country.
And were there any anti-racist protesters down there as well?
No, there wasn't. There weren't any at all at the Britannia on Sunday. Obviously, I did see some at the Thistle City on Saturday, where Antifa turned up in droves and really got in with the police there.
Tell me more about that one, because I was covering that here on Saturday, and just watching the scenes from the hotel, it seemed quite intimidating.
It really, really was. The thing is, of course, Antifa, who turned up with an unscheduled protest alongside the Stand Up to Racism protest, which had been scheduled and allowed to take place. They just stood in the middle of the crossroads, blocking it. Now, these people don't like to be filmed, unlike all of the other anti-asylum protesters who are always willing to happy to speak to me, happy to speak to the press. You know, Antifa, when I had my phone camera moving around, a lot of them were flipping me off, swearing. I did not want to get too close to these people for fear of being clocked in the jaw.
And they're the ones wearing masks and balaclavas and... Why do you think they are so keen to hide their identity? If they're just protesting innocently about sort of like, you know, anti-racism, why are they so keen to hide their identity?
Well, it's funny. I think a lot of them have this idea that the British state is completely out to get them rather than being more on their side. You know, they're very paranoid about cops infiltrating everywhere, whereas in terms of how the state organises against these groups of people overall, the ire, especially of the intelligence services, focus far more on what they would call the far right than the far left by any measure.
Just finally, before we go, how did the locals get onto the fact that they were going to go to that hotel? Because it's been widely assumed they were going in there. How do they get it? How do they find these things out?
So I believe in the case of the Britannia, a few days before it had happened, guests who had booked in obviously had their bookings cancelled. So they started posting on booking.com, etc. And then the day before, so the Monday, so this was the Sunday previously, residents in the local buildings, so there's one building right next to the Britannia, were then informed by the security that morning that it was becoming a migrant hotel.
So people had their bookings cancelled? Because the migrants came first.
Exactly.
Jack Hadfield, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Now, we've got a statement here from the Metropolitan Police which says officers pleased to protest for a considerable time today, but a group remain harassing occupants of the hotel and staff, trying to prevent people accessing the hotel to make deliveries and making concerted efforts to breach the fencing and access the hotel.
Their actions went well beyond protest to harassment, and we used powers under the Criminal Justice and Police Act 2021 to order that specific group to leave and not return for 28 days. If a different group wishes to protest in the vicinity of the hotel, they are not banned from doing so, providing they do so lawfully.
Fascinating. Now, still ahead, we'll be discussing the government pledging an additional £100 million for its one-in, one-out migrant return scheme with France. Just to remind you, 25,000 have arrived this year so far, a record. One in, one out will be 50 a week. Pathetic, isn't it?
You're not selling it to me. We'll be looking ahead to Nigel Farage's latest speech as well, as he continues his quest to make Reform UK look like a government in waiting. But first, of course, if you are in search of some holiday sun, and who isn't, it's good for your chest, evidently, here is the forecast for some of those top European destinations.
Can't wait to get in that sea.
Lovely and warm.
Just like the feeling of having great travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
It's a bit of a mixed picture across much of Europe over the next couple of days, with thunderstorms across parts of the Balkans, but across parts of Spain and Portugal, we're going to see that heat building over the next couple of days. Maximum temperatures could be reaching up to around 40 degrees and minimum temperatures not dropping much below 20 degrees overnight too. Those thunderstorms will continue across parts of Greece and the Balkans over the next couple of days, but it should be turning a little bit drier towards the end of the week. But that heat does continue to rise by the end of the week.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
This is the small boat crossing that everyone can cheer on, going from Fulham all the way back to HMS President in the city of London. It's going very well. I've walked 10 miles this morning with some Armed Forces veterans, their families, campaigners. GB News is raising money for SAFA and other Armed Forces charities as part of that Armed Forces Day celebration. Amazing viewers and listeners have raised £2,000 already. And after that gruelling 10-miler, which I have to say was done at quite a gentle pace, are now being treated to this luxurious return back to the starting point on board an HMS, a Royal Navy vessel. This is President 01. This is a training vessel that they use for reservists and also Royal Navy sailors as they make use of the Thames. We've had some great sights already. As we've been going back, we've seen plenty of people taking part in that SAFA 13 Bridges March, waving down on us. I think they were probably slightly jealous that they're still working away and we're enjoying the hospitality of the Royal Navy. But over 1,200 people taking part today, Dawn. Over 150 of them military reservists like myself and Will Mayrick, the producer for today's programme, doing excellent work. He's an RAF officer, in fact, I have to call him sir, which can get very embarrassing. But we're doing great work today, I think, really showcasing the armed forces. It's been amazing to speak to so many veterans, their families, and also many serving personnel on this March day as well. And we're just coming under, there's Vauxhall Bridge there. We've got MI6 to the right, very exciting. Always a beautiful sight, that iconic building. And there's going to be a lot of people still on the march as we go past, we accept. We just had some waves from the bridge earlier.
GB News, the People's Channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Okwir, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
Oh no, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
What is the time? It is 9:50.
It is,
Britain's
it
Newsroom
is.
on GB News, and this is not Bev Turner,
No.
it is Dawn Neeson.
I've just had to put a picture up of Bev and I together. The blonde is not Bev, OK?
OK.
She's the gorgeous brunette type. OK, should we move on
Yes.
before you start calling me Bev again? In what Nigel Farage is promising to be the most significant event of his party's crime campaign, Reform will call for bolstered rehabilitation in prisons.
So Nigel's going to be giving a speech very shortly where he's expected to announce the appointment of a new prison czar, Vanessa Frake. She's a former prison governor who's been on this programme many times.
Yeah.
And also we're expecting some further defections to his party.
Yeah, absolutely. She's very good, isn't she? To tell us more about what we can expect to hear is GB News political correspondent Catherine Forster. Catherine, good to see you. What can we expect to hear then from Nigel? He's doing these a lot at the moment.
He really is, and I think because MPs are in recess, this is a fabulous opportunity for Reform to seize the microphone where lots of people are away on holiday, and they are having a crime bonanza, basically, over the summer, with these frequent press conferences, with the overall message being Britain is lawless, focusing on law and order. We've seen some quite hardcore announcements. So today we expect there will be an announcement of another defector. We'll find out who that is round about 11. And this new prisons czar, Vanessa Frake. Now, she's a former prisons governor. She oversaw the detention of people like Rose West, you know, notorious murderers. So obviously she knows the prison system. She says it's on its knees. She wants more money to be spent on rehabilitation. She's been saying that, you know, most prisoners now only serving 40% of their sentence. It's not long enough for people to sort of have the help to turn their lives around. No. They lose the support network. So it sounds like she thinks that's the sort of worst of all worlds. But of course, proper rehabilitation that we don't see much in our prisons will cost a lot of money, and prisons have been neglected, haven't they?
And the trouble is, so often prisoners, Catherine, they're in a cell maybe for 22 or 23 hours a day. How do they rehabilitate? They need to engage with other people, they need to learn. A lot of them can't read or write.
There's so many prisoners that are in there that can't read or write. They have, mental health issues, that they need help, and the help and support, it seems, just isn't there. So what happens is they mix with other prisoners, and rather than it bettering them, it just sends them further down.
They learn more about the school of crime.
Yeah, makes them, I think she said, often will make them better criminals. She's not in favour of the death penalty. And she's also said about trans women, of course, we've had the judgment earlier this year saying, single-sex spaces should be for biological women, and she's not in favour of that. She says it should be on a case-by-case basis. So it'll be interesting to know what Reform's policy is on that.
Yes, yeah. And do we know anything about the defector?
There are some rumours, so it may be a donor. We don't know. We won't have long to find out. But we've had a few, haven't we? I mean, we've had a few former Conservative MPs who no longer have a seat. So, yes.
They need a serving MP. And I also think
Labour.
And they also need somebody from the Labour, a big Labour defector, to show that they're reaching out across the country, both sides of the political divide.
Yeah, because if you're no longer an MP, you haven't got much to lose, really, have you?
No.
Yeah.
No. Exactly.
Catherine, thank you very much. OK, don't go too far, still ahead. We'll be discussing the government pledging an additional $100 million for its one-in, one-out migrant return scheme with France. And don't forget, you can stay with us all day, not just on TV, but on radio and your smart speaker too. Listen to your smart speaker, just say play GB News on TuneIn. Very clever.
Have you ever done that?
No, I'm not clever enough to do that. All of that after the weather. We'll see you soon.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Good morning. Welcome to your latest GB News weather from the Met Office. Storm Flores has arrived, bringing unseasonably strong winds across the northern half of the country, with an amber weather warning in force later this morning. It's across northern areas that those winds will continue to intensify through the rest of Monday morning. We could see gusts across western Scotland, the north coast of Aberdeenshire, of around 80, 85, potentially even 90 miles an hour. And even across much of northern England and Northern Ireland, we'll see some very strong wind gusts too. Temperatures on Monday will be pretty similar to what we saw on Sunday, but with those strong winds, particularly across the north, it will be feeling quite a bit fresher for all of us. Those strong winds continue as we head through Monday evening, as well as some heavy rain too. We've seen quite a bit of heavy rain around this morning, and we'll continue to see longer spells of rain across the northern half of Scotland, with heavy blustery showers feeding in from the northwest as well, perhaps even the odd rumble of thunder mixed in across Scotland this afternoon and evening. Across Northern Ireland, northern parts of England, those showers perhaps a little more scattered, and the weather front that we've seen sinking its way south and eastwards continues to push offshore, so turning drier for much of England and Wales as we go through Monday night and into the early hours of Tuesday morning. The winds will gradually start to ease into the start of Tuesday morning, but it will still be really quite windy across much of Scotland and even into parts of Northern Ireland too. Brisk northwesterly winds will mean it still is a little bit fresher into the start of Tuesday, although towns and cities will generally be holding up into the double figures for most of us. A brighter start across the south, though. Plenty of prolonged sunshine, the best of any prolonged sunshine likely across England and Wales through Tuesday afternoon. But across Northern Ireland, Northern England and much of Scotland, we'll continue to see those heavy, blustery showers feeding in on that very brisk northwesterly wind. Temperatures will be close to average for most of us on Tuesday, so in the north around 18 or 19 degrees. In the south, 22 or 23 degrees.
A positive outlook through the night will power through to a bright day ahead. Boxed home battery storage, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good morning. This is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. Drivers northbound on the A9 near Inverarmond roundabout should use caution due to a broken down vehicle. Roadworks in Merthyr Tydfil on the A407 southbound cause closures and diversions. A breakdown in Stockton-on-Tees on the A19 southbound entry slip from the A689 causes a lane closure. Significant delays are on Hampshire's M3 eastbound at Junction 9 following a collision with delays up to 50 minutes. And on the trains, Storm Flores impacts travel, with Avanti West Coast and Eleanor advising passengers not to travel north of Preston and Newcastle, respectively. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Let us take on some of your financial stresses and pay your mortgage or rent for the next 12 months. We want to give you a cash lump sum equivalent to 12 of your monthly mortgage or rent payments, up to an unbelievable £20,000. We'll also boost that by a further £5,000. So you really could have some fun in the coming year. For a chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB15 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 29th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Good morning. It's 10 o'clock on Monday, the 4th of August, and live across the United Kingdom. This is Britain's Newsroom with Andrew Pearce and Dawn Neeson.
Smash the gangs. Remember when the government used to say that? Well, they've now announced the government an additional $100 million to fund its one-in, one-out migrant returns deal with France. But a small boat crossings topped 25,000 so far this year. But it have any impact whatsoever.
Yeah, some serious questions about whether this additional £100 million is money well spent. Millions extra for France to implement a return scheme that will only ever see 5% of those crossing return to France.
And on a similar note, asylum hotel row. Police make arrests outside the Britannia Hotel in Canary Wharf as protesters, including women and children, let their feelings be known about the hotels used to house asylum seekers, who are all young men, by the way.
And the government in waiting, are they? Nigel Farage is to give a major speech shortly as he continues to outline what a reform UK government would look like. This one, again, is on the issue of law and order.
And Storm Flores hits the UK. Unseasonably strong winds batter parts of the country today, with Met Office yellow weather warnings in place until tomorrow morning.
That's right, a danger to life warning is in place as winds batter the north of England as Storm Flores wreaks havoc on Britain.
Storm Flores, isn't Flores a very nice scent?
I think it is, yeah.
So what on earth are they called a storm, Flores?
I don't know who's chosen.
I mean, who chooses these stupid names?
I don't know who's chosen this one, but can't they have, like, Storm Brute or something, or Storm Butch?
I mean, Flores is ridiculous.
Storm really scary.
It is quite a delicate scent, I think.
I think so as well. But they have really silly names, don't they? Didn't they have a Storm Betty the other year?
Yeah, that's my late mother's name.
No disrespect if you're called Betty, it's a lovely name, but it's not really a scary name for a storm.
You never met my mother.
Oh, no, that's true. Now, Storm Andrew, that would be scary, wouldn't it?
There you are. I think she's taken the mick to you.
Yeah.
Now, we'd like to know what you think, and perhaps you think, like Dawn and I, these names are stupid, but I don't know why we need a storm name in the first place. And we certainly don't need amber warnings, thank you very much.
Well, we never had them when we were kids. They were just storms.
They were.
Anyways, let me know what you think, or let us know even at gbnews.com/your say, and you can even name your own storm. What's the best name for a storm? Why not? Let's do that.
Storm... I don't know.
Storm. Let's go with a name called Storm. Any case, but first, let's get the news with Storm Sophia Hill.
Dawn, thank you. Very good morning. It's just gone 10 o'clock. These are your latest headlines. Top story, the government is pumping an extra £100 million into its fight against people smuggling gangs. The funding will bolster the UK's returns deal with France and pay for 300 new National Crime Agency officers. Intelligence gathering will also get a tech upgrade. It comes as more than 25,000 migrants have crossed the Channel in small boats this year alone. Home Secretary Yvette Cooper says Labour is laying the foundations for a stronger law enforcement approach. However, Shadow Secretary to the Treasury, James Wilde, told GB News that he sees this as a distraction technique.
Well, this just feels like it's a gimmick to distract from the figures last week showing 25,000 people have already arrived illegally, a record number, and over the last year it's 48,000. And the reason for that and the numbers going up is because Labour scrapped the deterrent that we had in place. We hadn't operationalised it, I accept, but the scheme to remove people if they arrive illegally is key to breaking this business model of the gangs. And I fear that this is just an announcement that was trying to distract from that.
One person has been arrested during a demonstration outside a Migrant hotel in London after fresh protests took place over the weekend. More than 100 people gathered outside the Britannia Hotel in Canary Wharf in a so-called pink protest to oppose the use of hotels to house asylum seekers. But they were quickly joined by a group of masked men who set off smoke bombs and tried to breach hotel fencing. One man was arrested for assault. Separately, 2 more men have been charged over disorder outside the Bell Hotel in Epping last month, bringing the total to 11. 23-year-old Charlie Land and 21-year-old Luke Fleming will appear at Chelmsford Magistrates Court today. Pro-Palestinian activists are planning to target Labour MPs, councillors and officers today, demanding a tougher stance against Israel. The Palestinian Youth Movement has circulated an 8-page strategy booklet urging solidarity groups to besiege Labour premises nationwide. The group accuses Labour of complicity in Israel's actions in Gaza, calling Sir Keir Starmer's recent pledge to recognise a Palestinian state meagre and politically convenient. Now, Storm Flores is set to bring unseasonably powerful winds to parts of the UK today as weather warnings come into force. A Met Office yellow wind warning is in place from 6 a.m. today until 6 a.m. tomorrow across Scotland, Northern Ireland, North Wales and Northern England. Scots are being urged to stay indoors, with gusts possibly reaching 85 miles per hour along the coast. You're seeing live pictures from Oban on your screen there. In land areas, they could see 40 to 50 mile per hour winds with even stronger gusts on higher ground. The Met Office warns disruption is likely, with heavy rain adding to the risk. Now, Health Secretary Wes Streeting heads into talks with the BMA this week in a bid to avert fresh strike action by resident doctors. Last week, NHS England reported fewer than a third took part in the 5-day walkout, down by 7.5% from last July. But the BMA challenged those figures, saying complex shift patterns and leave make accurate data almost impossible. The stakes are high as both sides must find common ground to avoid further disruption. And Reform UK's new Justice Advisor says that Britain's prison system is on its knees and is calling for urgent reforms focusing on rehabilitation. Former prison governor Vanessa Frake says that successive governments have failed miserably on crime and warns that many inmates lose vital support on the outside and then quickly reoffend. She's backing Reform UK leader Nigel Farage's push for what he says will be a major movement in his party's crime campaign. Millions of drivers could be owed compensation over missold car finance, and the regulator says payouts could total up to £18 billion. The Finance Conduct Authority says lenders failed to properly disclose commission payments to car dealers between 2007 and 2021 and is now preparing to consult on a redress scheme by October. If approved, payments would begin in 2026, but the FCA estimate that the average payout is expected to be less than £950. Drivers who have already complained don't need to take further action. Small businesses say US tariffs have knocked their appetite for exporting under new government policies. A survey of over 500 small and medium-sized businesses by lender iWorker found that more than half are reluctant to export, and 1 in 7 blamed tariffs directly. iWorker director Mark DeToro warned that even minor cost increases or paperwork can deter firms with tight margins. The findings highlight how international trade friction is putting the brakes on growth. Those are the latest GB News headlines for now. More from me in just under half an hour, but now it's back to Andrew and Dawn.
Not a lot. Hello and welcome back. This is Britain's Newsroom, live across the United Kingdom on GB News with him, Andrew Pearce, and me, Dawn Leeson.
So, to our top story, the government has committed an extra £100 million. Now, in context of government spending, this is peanuts.
It's not a lot, actually. I was just thinking that.
Yeah,
it's not a lot,
is
it?
I'm not knocking it because they waste so much money, but £100 million is peanuts when you consider the national debt is over £2 trillion. But this is £100 million to try to smash people smuggling gangs. They won't succeed. What they've got to stop is preventing... Why do all these young men come here? Because we're a soft touch, because they'll get benefits and because they'll be put in hotels. That's got to stop.
It's really right. Okay, they keep fiddling around the edges.
That's
this
right.
£100 million is meant to be spent on more national crime officers,
300.
more high-tech tech to track the gangs.
There's hundreds of miles of French beach, and we can't put our police officers on those beaches either.
No. So that's what £100 million of your money is meant to be going towards, but it's not, is it? It's just fiddling around the edges.
It is. So so the 300 more National Crime Agency officers alongside new technology to improve intelligence gathering. The changes come as figures reveal, as we've been telling you earlier, 25,000 small boat migrants entered the UK this year alone, another record. So they may not be smashing the gangs, but they're smashing their records.
How many gangs have they actually smashed, right?
They probably have, but there's a new monster takes its place.
Of course, because they're criminals.
They're criminals.
So you smash one gang, and what happens?
Another one
takes its place. Now, the Home Secretary, meanwhile, claims Labour have set the foundations for a new and much stronger law enforcement approach.
Well, let's talk to our GB News Home and Security Editor, Mark White, who knows all there is to know about the battle against small boats and the migrants. Mark, morning to you. Are we being unfair? £100 million, look, I'm the first to criticise the government for squandering money, but £100 million is peanuts, really.
Well, it is and it isn't. If you're struggling, then it's certainly not peanuts in terms of the perception of £100 million going on various facets of this fight against the illegal trade in small boat migrants across the English Channel. And while I think many people will probably accept that an additional 300 National Crime Agency officers and more technology to be able to detect illegal activity on the other side of the channel is probably a good thing. More money going to the French, and it will be millions on top of the £500 million that the French have already got from the UK in recent years. I'm not sure people will be particularly happy about that, especially given that this one-in, one-out scheme that is being championed by Sir Keir Starmer alongside Emmanuel Macron will mean that 95% of those coming across the English Channel will not be returned back to France. It will be 5%. Now, the government says this is a pilot, and the plan would be to increase that number. But there's very little detail about any time frame for that happening, and what would be the metrics for deciding that that scheme is actually successful. Because if you have got only 5% of those coming across the Channel that are returned to France, how is that any kind of a disincentive to come across the Channel? So if you're measuring it on that metric, it's difficult to see how you can measure it as a success and expand it. And of course, it just fuels the concerns and suspicions that many have that really what the government is doing is just coming up with lots of packaged announcements that look as though they're doing as much as possible to get on top of this crisis, but actually, in the great scheme of things, amount to very little.
Mark, we had two big announcements at the weekend as well, didn't we? The fast-track asylum, the Home Secretary introducing a new fast-track scheme to tackle the asylum backlog by speeding things up going through the courts, despite the fact there's a 25-year High Court backlog as it is. And also illegal migrants advertising, or the people smugglers advertising on social media, which is already illegal. That's going to be a little bit more illegal now, make that make sense. But all of this, I mean, as the viewers and listeners are saying, it's just fiddling around the edges. It's not stopping the boats, smashing the gangs.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say I found the new legislation that will come into place for advertising small boat crossings ludicrous, really, because it's already, as you say, a criminal offence to be involved in any kind of conspiracy to facilitate illegal crossings. So yes, it amounts to making something more illegal. It's just a nonsense, and as I say, it feeds in to this perception that what we're getting here are announcements that are just dripping out on a regular basis to show that the government is trying to get on top of what is, you know, an insurmountable crisis in terms of stopping those coming across the English Channel. So you know, they've got to be seen to be doing something. They've got to do something, but will it amount to anything really that is concrete in trying to deter those coming across the English Channel? I'm not so sure, I have to say, because all of the things that the government have been announcing have been focused on those involved in the criminal elements of people smuggling. That's quite right. You should go after these criminal gangs and disrupt them. But there's nothing in there that seems to address the decisions made by the migrants themselves. Everything that the government is announcing seems to absolve the migrants themselves of their own responsibility. They're the ones that sought out criminal gangs to smuggle them across multiple countries to get to the UK in the first place. But there's nothing there that's the deterrent, really, for them in this, that I see anyway.
Mark, what happens, and when is it going to happen, when the police, the French police, can wade in when the dinghies are in the shallow waters and puncture them? Now, they keep talking this is going to happen. When's it going to start?
Well, exactly that. It's a very good point. We've been hearing about it for month after month after month, and every time they say, oh, yeah, yes, well, the French Parliament has now enacted that law. They're just doing a bit of training. Still, it hasn't happened. There was one attempt about a month, 6 weeks ago, where the French waded into the water and they punctured a boat in shallow water. And then the next day, a similar tactic was about to unfold, but then the French police said, no, there's a couple of women and a child on board that boat. We're not going to do anything because it could put them in danger. Well, what's going to happen? The people smugglers are always looking to stay one step ahead of law enforcement. All they're going to do is ensure that every single migrant boat that now leaves for the UK will have at least a couple of women and a couple of children on board. So then that French tactic of pushing them back is not going to take place because the French will say it's too dangerous.
Oh,
Yeah.
isn't it just frustrating?
Very
That knife that they stabbed that boat with, that was worth £750 million. That's what we paid to the French so far.
Yeah, and that was also just before the state visit by Emmanuel
Yeah,
Macron.
exactly.
So it was a whole thing was a PR gimmick in the first place.
That's very interesting, though, what Mark said. The Labour government are focusing on going for the gangs, not the migrants.
Yeah.
Is it because, do you think, I mean, you know them better than I, that the politicians are frightened of being accused of being racist and not caring?
Yeah,
that
all
sort of,
of that. Yeah, so
So
they
they
go
can
for
go for the gangs because that's
who
fine.
and the gangs run rings around them.
Of course they do.
Every time.
Of course they do.
Every time. Now, moving on, that was Mark White, of course. Here's your chance to live mortgage or rent-free for a year and get a bonus of £5,000 in your bank in the latest Great British Giveaway. And guess what? If you haven't got a mortgage or rent to pay, you can still enter and win £15,000.
Not bad, is it?
Here's all the details.
This is your chance to live mortgage or rent-free for an entire year in the latest Great British Giveaway. That's right, we'll give you a cash lump sum that will cover 12 of your monthly mortgage or rent payments, up to an incredible £20,000. Plus, we'll add £5,000 on top of that for you to treat yourself. And if you don't have a mortgage or rent to pay, lucky you, we'll give you £15,000 in cash instead. You have to hurry though, as lines will close on the 29th of August. For a chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB15 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 29th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Yes, good luck indeed. Now, don't go too far. Still ahead, asylum seekers move into a 4-star hotel in Canary Wharf under the cover of darkness, despite anti-migrant protests. And, of course, Storm Flores continues to batter the UK. Our GB News reporter Steve Bennett will bring the latest from Lytham St Anne's.
But first, we'll be joined by Alice Grant and Matthew Talbot next to go through the papers with. You're with Britain's Newsroom on GB News.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
What I want to talk about now, though, is a Christian street preacher who was shut down by London's Transport Police outside King's Cross Station. Now, she has exclusively spoken to GB News, claiming that Christians are being heavily persecuted in this country and that police are not doing this to other religious speakers. Shocking, indeed, if true. Well, are we living in this two-tier approach by the authorities that we hear so much about? I'm delighted to say I am joined now in the studio by that street preacher herself, Monique Bailey.
It is true that the police did tell us that you need a permit, so that is truth, but it's the way it was handled. She was very... It was just astonishing. I just couldn't believe how a police person could come against us like that. Like, we were abiding by the rules. And by the way, I didn't actually put the full clip on just to, in a way, save her, because it actually got worse.
OK.
Yeah.
Monique, can I just quickly ask, if you take a step back and look at Britain, you know, as a Christian, you see the demonstrations that we've had since October 7th, some would say pro-Hamas, anti-Israel demonstrations, pretty overt displays of anti-Semitism.
Yeah.
We've had the Lucy Connolly case. We've had, I would argue, clear evidence of a two-tier approach within our judicial legal system. Do you think that we are actually now entering a society where some groups, some religions are treated much more harshly than others? Do you think, for example, if you had been a Muslim preacher in King's Cross Station, the reaction would have been the same.
Yeah, of course, every religion gets something thrown at them, but I do think, of course, Christianity is the most persecuted, and I do think we will see it more.
GB News, the People's Channel.
You've read the headlines, you've heard what those in power have to say. How about now we actually get to the truth?
They would pay attention.
We go beyond the political theatre and tell you what's really going on behind the scenes. For a massive council tax hike, one of the biggest in the UK. Others follow their lines, but we go off script.
You sound like a broken record, you say that week after week.
Cutting through the narratives and giving you unique perspectives. That's Ben Leo tonight, Saturdays and Sundays from 9 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hello, welcome back. It is 10:22. This is Britain's Newsroom with Andrew Pearce and Dawn Needham. And now we are joined by political commentator Alice Grant and former Labour advisor Matthew Torbett in the studio to go through the newspapers. OK, who wants to go?
I'm just going to say, thin gruel for you guys. Because it does feel like city season, doesn't it?
You've been grilled for about 12 months, Andrew. No change there for me.
But, I mean, the thing is, it is a Sunday for Monday as far as the papers are concerned, which is always a difficult day to get a newspaper out, as we know. And it is the silly season. August is always a silly... What we need is a shark off the Cornish coast.
Yeah.
I'm assuming there's no sharks in the papers today, though.
No, none today. I think that the more shocking thing for me, the main one that jumped out, was that... the asbestos is killing more of our troops than the Taliban in Ministry of Defence manned homes. And the reason this jumped out is this is something I worked a bit on during my time in Parliament, and it was bad when we were in opposition and you could make grandstanding statements and whatever else. At the time, 1 in 3 Armed Forces personnel were living in the poorest rated military accommodation, and nearly 1,500 were living in accommodation so bad and mould-ridden and sort of broken down that they didn't have to pay rent.
Gosh.
And you arc back to a time sort of post-World War II where there was the idea of homes fit for heroes.
Yeah.
And I think, again, it speaks to the sort of not even managed decline at this point, but the decline that it feels like the country is on, that we've got papering over the cracks of military accommodation that can't be done properly. Well, you better believe there's going to be millions of pounds worth of accommodation compensation being sought for this.
But this is going on for years, Matthew.
Yeah, well, this is the problem. And I think rather than, do a job properly, you end up paying absolute hundreds of millions of pounds out in the future. Sort of strikes me a little bit. Keir Starmer and Johnny keep talking about us, we need to be on a war footing. And you start to wonder whether they know something we don't. Well, it'll be something like the Boer War at this rate, where we're going to have an army not fit for purpose, dying of asbestos, as opposed to going to war with Russia or anybody else. Really short-sighted, I think, and something, considering we made a lot of noise about this in opposition, really should be followed.
And Alice, it's bad enough, isn't it, that we treat our veterans appallingly. We see so many of them sleeping rough, dying, alcoholism, but now we've got serving military living in accommodation that's killing them.
It is horrifying. I mean, this comes at a time when we know £6 million a day is being spent on housing illegal migrants in hotels, including the 4-star luxury hotel in Canary Wharf. And it's true, our veterans are on the street. And I think it's so deeply unpatriotic, and it's such a disservice to them for all they've done for our country. And I mean, the asbestos story is horrifying, but this is an ongoing problem because clearly they're not being treated or cared for or honoured. They really should be honoured for serving our country, but they are just treated...
9 times more deaths than the 20-year Afghan campaign. Isn't that terrible?
It's frightening. It really is frightening. Yeah. Matthew, we hear it time and time again on here from viewers and listeners. The priorities of the government, consecutive governments, not just the current Labour government, they're just not putting the people first.
Well, listen, I like anybody else, am frustrated with the government, wonder what they're doing. And again, this is successive governments. My generation is going to be far worse off than my parents, and this is supposed to be a country where you can do better than your parents, and was sort of probably taken for granted. The social contract with this country is sort of broken. The idea of ever getting on the housing ladder is unobtainable, and therefore I totally understand people's frustrations when they're going, we'll look at these people coming over here and seemingly getting loads of stuff that I can't get access to. We saw over the weekend the idea of passes to get dentistry, which is a nightmare to get for loads of people across the country. You hear the idea of dentist deserts and the idea of no dentist nearby for miles. And I think, again, the thing that I find frustrating is I think there is not a silver bullet, but a fairly obvious big step, which would be offshore processing. And I keep banging my head within my own party to talk about this. But it's a Europe-wide issue. The president of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, her own party said in April, we maybe need to look at the Geneva Convention and the idea of what a refugee is. And I think the Prime Minister would do brilliantly at showing leadership on this and going, I'm calling an extraordinary summit. We need all European presidents there and Prime Ministers, and we need to basically cooperate on this sort of stuff. I don't think it's great diplomacy to go, oh, the French are just letting them all across, let's not bother with them. We're going to have to get them in the room, unfortunately, along with Greece, where they're getting a lot of people coming in from Syria, and talk about the idea of offshore processing. One, you'll keep the left side of the country or your party base happy because they're going, oh, safe and legal route, no one dying in the Channel, great. But also the right, if you want to call it that, or the small c Conservatives, because this is a national security issue. We don't know who's coming in. We saw at the weekend the issue of Afghan refugees, or formerly refugees, you know, raping young girls.
Allegedly.
Allegedly, sorry, yes, of course. But they've been charged. This is a national security issue that's got to be dealt with, and the longer we leave it, the more money we pay out, people are going to become frustrated.
And I think the government battered everybody who dared to protest after the Southport killings a year ago. That's far right, but I think it's been accepted now, hasn't it, that these are ordinary folk protesting because they're upset, they're worried. Matters is we don't know who these people are, we don't know where they're from, we don't know if they're a threat to our children and their children, but we're still letting them come into. They're even now taking over luxury hotels in Canary Wharf, the financial capital of Europe.
I think one would be hard-pressed to find anyone who isn't concerned about what is effectively a national security crisis. On the subject of cooperation between interstates, I mean, we have a European Convention on Human Rights. Back in June, 9 member states of that convention came together to tell the Council we are having severe issues with the implementation of the convention in encumbering domestic policy and our right to control our borders. It is astonishing that as a state we have to resort to these ridiculous gimmicks of the one-in, one-out scheme because we can't enforce proper control over our sovereign borders. That is what's, I think, really at the root of this issue. And I'm all for human rights and the protection of those things. And this, you know, the convention was drafted after the atrocities seen in World War II. I understand, but I think everyone realises that there's something severely wrong when we can't exercise what's in the best national interest. Because when we do, anyone can pull up an appeal based on Article 8 or Article 2 or one of the articles of the Convention to say that this infringes upon my human dignity, and then therefore nothing can get done. And we can't legislate on this properly. So Parliament needs to be firmer, I think, and I think there is a lot of appetite for stronger enforcement over what is our right, which is essentially to keep our country safe.
And you know, Matthew, if the government don't get a grip, this could become the dominant story of the summer.
It is.
And it already is.
I'll tell you what, won't be the dominant story of the summer? The election. Yeah. That's what it'll be. We're clearly...
It's up there now with the economy, isn't it?
Yeah, well, listen, I think we're going to see similar to the Brexit referendum. You're going to have, and this is what Number 10 is clearly banking on, a sort of anti-reform vote where even sort of soft Conservatives will try and vote for a Labour candidate in their area. We saw the same in Runcorn, and this is what they're banking on. There's quite a big vote that doesn't want Nigel Farage as Prime Minister. The other side of that is that Nigel Farage is very effective at turning out what I think Number 10 termed privately Brexit populists, which is essentially non-voters. They turned out and voted for Brexit in 2016, haven't voted since, but they will likely turn out and vote to try and make Nigel Farage Prime Minister. If you turn out a lot of them, we saw what happened during Brexit, you get a narrow win. Yeah. You've got to get a grip of this because actually it ties in very well with the cost of living as well, and they will be the 2 dominant issues at the next election.
Well, they're linked.
Without a doubt. Absolutely, of course they are. But, you know, if they want to keep banging their head against a brick wall and spending £100 million on, you know, something that isn't going to work, well, there you go. You sort of deserve to get a battering, in my view.
And lots of people agreeing with both of you out there. PW says they need to recall Parliament and sort this mess out. It is a national emergency. People are beginning to see it that way, and this will not go away over the summer because there's nothing else to distract people. Matthew, Alice, we will see you next time.
Now, we've got to give a right of reply about the asbestos story from the Ministry of Defence, who say compensation payments to veterans affected by mesothelioma cannot be compared with civilian claims, as the standard of proof of exposure required are lower, and that they take the health and safety of our service personnel and defence employees extremely seriously. What a pathetic statement.
Yeah, sorry, I know we've got to go. That's ridiculous.
Isn't it?
They've been a state for years.
Yeah.
You would take action, or
Yeah.
And
that is, even by standards of government, that is pathetic, isn't it?
Can't believe that.
Yes, OK, thank you very much. We'll see you next time round. And now it's time for your 60-second news update with Sophia Hill.
Very good morning. The headlines from the GB Newsroom just after 10:30. The government is pumping an extra £100 million into its fight against people smuggling gangs. The funding will bolster the UK's returns deal with France and pay for 300 new National Crime Agency officers. One person has been arrested during a demonstration outside a Migrant hotel in London after fresh protests took place over the weekend, with more than 100 people gathering outside the Britannia Hotel in Canary Wharf on Sunday. Storm Flores is set to bring unseasonably powerful winds to parts of the UK today, with gusts possibly reaching 85 miles per hour along the Scottish coastlines. That's as an amber weather warning comes into force. Pro-Palestinian activists are planning to target Labour MPs, councillors and officers today as they demand a tougher stance against Israel. And millions of drivers could be owed compensation over mis-sold car finance, and the regulator says payouts could total up to £18 billion. Those are the headlines for now. More news at the top of the hour.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
OK, don't go too far. Coming up next, asylum seekers are moved into a 4-star Canary Wharf hotel under cover of darkness despite anti-migrant protests. This is Britain's Newsroom on GB News. Don't go too far. We'll see you soon.
And Nigel Farage.
Good morning. Welcome to your latest GB News weather from the Met Office. Storm Flores has arrived, bringing unseasonably strong winds across the northern half of the country, with an amber weather warning in force later this morning. It's across northern areas that those winds will continue to intensify through the rest of Monday morning. We could see gusts across western Scotland, the north coast of Aberdeenshire, of around 80, 85, potentially even 90 miles an hour. And even across much of northern England and Northern Ireland, we'll see some very strong wind gusts too. Temperatures on Monday will be pretty similar to what we saw on Sunday, but with those strong winds, particularly across the north, it will be feeling quite a bit fresher for all of us. Those strong winds continue as we head through Monday evening, as well as some heavy rain too. We've seen quite a bit of heavy rain around this morning, and we'll continue to see longer spells of rain across the northern half of Scotland, with heavy blustery showers feeding in from the northwest as well, perhaps even the odd rumble of thunder mixed in across Scotland this afternoon and evening. Across Northern Ireland, northern parts of England, those showers perhaps a little more scattered, and the weather front that we've seen sinking its way south and eastwards continues to push offshore, so turning drier for much of England and Wales as we go through Monday night and into the early hours of Tuesday morning. The winds will gradually start to ease into the start of Tuesday morning, but it will still be really quite windy across much of Scotland and even into parts of Northern Ireland too. Brisk northwesterly winds will mean it still is a little bit fresher into the start of Tuesday, although towns and cities will generally be holding up into the double figures for most of us. A brighter start across the south though, plenty of prolonged sunshine, the best of any prolonged sunshine likely across England and Wales through Tuesday afternoon. But across Northern Ireland, Northern England and much of Scotland, we'll continue to see those heavy blustery showers feeding in on that very brisk northwesterly wind. Temperatures will be close to average for most of us on Tuesday, so in the north around 18 or 19 degrees, in the south 22 or 23 degrees.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good morning, this is the latest AI travel news from GBNews.com. The A720 eastbound between Gilmerton and Sheriff Hall is restricted due to a broken down vehicle, so motorists are advised to use caution. The A470 southbound at Merthyr Tydfil is closed with diversions due to roadworks. In Lancashire, a vehicle fire has shut 2 of 3 lanes on the M55 westbound between junctions 1 and 2, so road users should exercise caution. And on the trains, Storm Flores is affecting Avanti West Coast services. Passengers should avoid travel north of Preston today. Similarly, Elna services are disrupted, with travel north of Newcastle discouraged. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good morning. It is coming up to 10:37, and this is Britain's Newsroom.
So those protests are continuing outside the Britannia International Hotel in Canary Wharf. It's a 4-star hotel after a busload of migrants had moved there during the early hours of Saturday morning. I think the police thought nobody would notice, but guess what? They did.
Well, that's just making people more annoyed,
of course
isn't it?
did.
The protests included many women and children, as you can see on your screens now, all dressed in pink, and they were sparked by a perceived lack of community consultation while sneaking people in the middle of the night. That will have that effect, won't it?
There was no consultation. They were just sent there.
Well, and to be fair to Tower Hamlets weren't consulted as well. They were just told.
Yeah,
that's
right.
the local authority, by the way. Obviously, there is a big fear about safety now in that area. I know Canary Wharf really well. It's near to where I live in London, and there's lots and lots of young women that work in that area, and they are genuinely concerned for their safety.
Of course.
Because these young men will have nothing to do, and they're worried about hanging around the shopping centre.
And they don't know who they are, where they're from.
No.
Anything about their background?
No, not at all.
Because they have no ID.
Any case to tell us more now is fellow Onward and former Labour activist Chris Worrell. Chris, good to see you.
Morning.
Welcome to the sick bay. If you make it out of here alive, you're doing well. Chris, what do you make of this? I mean, sneaking migrants in the dead of night, this is not going to help community cohesion, is it?
No, I mean, there's completely no community cohesion at the minute. When you're in these WhatsApp groups locally and you're seeing from a YouTuber people getting bussed in, all men, you know, it's gone around the community, and it's not just the white community, you've got the black Asians as well that are worried about it. You know, and you know, the reports that we hear about some seekers with the, you know, sexual harassment or even swans, the people in the residence groups are now making sure they're counting the swans on the dock every time they go past it, because they're not sure if someone's going to be going out and, you know...
What, killing a swan?
Killing a swan. There's been reports of it across the country, of like people eating
they're being
swan.
eaten?
Yeah.
Cultural differences.
Cultural differences.
Yeah.
But, you know, those are generally just normal people that are kind of going and counting the swans. There's 9 goslings or whatever they're called.
I didn't realise that was actually going on.
Yeah, well, it's happened up north, I think, in one of the other hotels.
Oh, my Lord.
But the biggest thing here is about the planning permission, right? We've seen in Ipswich Borough Council, they stopped Fairview hotels. There's been a whole question around, is this a use as a hotel or is it something else? Now, there has been questions put in to the government on this, to Matthew Pennycook by Kevin Hollinrake when he was the housing minister, saying, what guidance is there to change use? He said, Matthew Pennycook from the Labour Party said, there is no plans to issue any guidance. Now, what we're seeing is, in Great Yarmouth as well, if the council enforces the planning regulations, they have to close it down. So the Town Council can say, oh, we're not sure, we don't know. There's been letters in from residents, quite a lot of residents, I think about getting up to 9,000 now that have been put in a letter, asking them to enforce the hotel regulations. And the thing about the asylum seeker sort of regime for the Home Office, they don't even recognise it as continuing use as hotel. And what they're saying is the average stay for an asylum seeker getting processed is 400 days. Most hotels are short stay, and as you know, if you're a tourist, you're coming there spending money.
Yeah.
And but these people are getting the money spent on them, and you get to the point where, you know, I think some of the women out there on the weekend, they were doing a swinging Sweet Caroline and doing the hokey cokey. You know, some of the points they were making is like, who's paying for all this? It's where's it all going?
You actually live near this hotel as well, don't you?
Yeah, I live down the road. I know people like in the blocks next door, around the corner on the estate. Like I ran for the council in the ward next door to that area. You know, I'm in all the WhatsApp groups. I know, you know, I'm on the Facebook groups. People know who I am around there. And I've been down like 4 or 5 times now and see how it's going on every time. You know, making sure there's no nonsense going on. And at the end of the day, what we're seeing is people from all walks of life. You know, you've got the middle class lot in the Waldian block. You've got, you know, the single mums around the corner in the other block. And even my missus is, you know, my godmother to my daughter, one of her best mates in the block next door, and she's, you know, when they're getting all this far right coming up, like sort of calls for that from the Look for Arm and the local mayor, who's an independent, and then the Labour Party as well, when they were calling me, oh, they're taking it far right, and some of their members were calling me a Nazi for saying that people protest. Yeah, there was a Labour member who's called me a Nazi. No. All on Twitter, yeah, they all go at it in these Facebook groups. And I was the chair of the bloody, excuse my French, I was the chair of the actual constituency Labour Party in that area for a time. So when you're getting all that, and you've got people that are just normal, you know, people going to their day-to-day work, getting called that, it really does.
It's outrageous, isn't it? Because it's just ordinary people having ordinary fears, worrying about what's happening to their community, changing beyond recognition, and worrying about these young men, who they are, where they're from, and what they may or may not do. And why is it racist to be concerned about that?
I think that's a really good point you make. And we both live in Tower Hamlets, obviously, and it's a very, very mixed community. And sort of like these are black people and brown people. They're all worried about these strange young men. Suddenly, we don't know who they are, dumped into the local area.
And having a problem with the planning permission not being enforced for its actual use is somehow far right is bonkers. And the people that are trying to do that, what they're trying to do is trying to divide the community. They don't want people all coming together because then their sort of own political agendas of who they're targeting will kind of have their waters muddied, if you like, by having people come together on this issue.
How are they going to sort this?
They've got us enforcing... The council has a responsibility, and the Home Office has confirmed it, that they have a responsibility and the power to enforce the planning to be used as intended. At the minute, it's not. No. So if they're going to... So when you've got them doing a Section 42A under the 2001 Criminal Justice Act, that's only to protect residents in a lawful use. But if the council actually enforced the planning rules under the Town and Country Planning Act, they're not using it for a lawful use. It's just it's passive non-enforcement by Town as council.
Because they're not being used as hotels.
No.
That's the basic line.
There would be no protests.
You've got planning permission for, but you're not using it.
And is that because the council, currently in its current form, Luta Rahman, it's Aspire, the group it's called, it's a Muslim council, Muslim-dominated councillors. Is it because they are sympathetic to these migrants coming in?
Well, the Aspire Party and the Labour Party have come in saying that we reject far-right divisive politics and we welcome refugees. So the fact of the matter is, these protests would not be happening if the council done its job enforcing the planning regulations. And Matthew Pennicott, the planning minister, has come out and said they're not going to issue any guidance. And it just seems to me that all of this could be avoided if we wouldn't have any people, you know, women and children. There was lots of kids out there on the weekend.
Yeah, there were.
Yeah, coming out. They wouldn't be there if the council enforced the planning permission.
The thing is, Chris, I mean, it was a Conservative government that introduced the use of hotels to house migrants, wasn't it? So it's not a Labour Party issue.
They did say they were going to stop it.
Oh, yeah. Good luck with that one. So what do we do with them? If the hotels, you know, stick to, as you say, their planning permission and revert to being hotels, which legally they should be doing, what do we do with the migrants? So the 25,400 that come over this year alone.
Well, we need to stop with the... Let's think about it. If you've got a leaky bath, you've got to put the plug in, right? The plug is this. If in France you get 5 years, non-working, non-EU migrants have to wait 5 years to get any welfare benefits, we've got to match that, otherwise they're just going to be coming straight over. Of course. You know, it's a no-brainer.
That's in France, is it?
That's in France. Yeah. Macron brought it in actually last year after Le Pen pushed for it. So it has to. That is the first thing that has to happen.
No benefits for 5 years.
5 years, none whatsoever.
And we give it to them straight away.
So you apply for asylum. You apply for asylum. You don't get any benefits by a little bit a day, and then once you're granted refugee status, you don't have a local connection test, but that doesn't matter because they'll try to refer you, but then no one will take you. So then they're back into the temp accommodation. That's why our bills are at £10 billion a year housing asylum seekers. So we've got to block the incentives. Then they will stop coming over, and then you can deal with the rest of it.
Yeah, I agree. And then, I mean, faffing on about the gangs, we've got to stop the men getting on the boat in the first place.
Yeah.
And take away the incentives for them coming in.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the point.
Chris,
and stop putting them in hotels.
Yeah. I mean, and you are a former Labour activist, Labour through and through.
One of the most loyal.
Long enough.
Yeah, well,
you're being called a fascist because you're worried about it.
Yes, defending the indefensible.
Amazing, isn't it?
Incredible. Chris, thank you so much for coming in today.
Well, and stick to your guns, Chris. We're very glad about that. Now, following the protest, the Metropolitan Police have issued the following statement. Here we go. Officers policed a protest for considerable time today, but a group remained who were harassing occupants of the hotel and staff. Of course they were. Trying to prevent people accessing the hotel to make deliveries and making concerted efforts to breach the fencing and access the hotel.
Their actions went well beyond protest to harassment, and we used powers under the Criminal Justice and Police Act 2021 in order to that specific group to leave and not return for 28 days. If a different group wishes to protest in the vicinity of the hotel, they are not banned from doing so, providing they do so lawfully. Well, pull the bones out of that one, to be honest with you.
Now, up next, Storm Flores, the inappropriately named Storm Flores, in my view, continues to batter parts of Britain up in the north and Scotland, where there's an amber weather warning, just in case you hadn't noticed that it was a storm battering your home. You've got an amber weather warning, just to help you. Are we talking to Steve Bennett now? No, he's coming up. We're going to be talking to Steve Bennett, who's in Lytham St Anne's. But first, if you want to think about some holiday sun, here's the forecast of some of our top European destinations.
I forecast a perfect holiday in the sun.
Weather looking good then?
For sure, and no worries about our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
It's a bit of a mixed picture across much of Europe over the next couple of days, with thunderstorms across parts of the Balkans, but across parts of Spain and Portugal, we're going to see that heat building over the next couple of days. Maximum temperatures could be reaching up to around 40 degrees and minimum temperatures not dropping much below 20 degrees overnight too. Those thunderstorms will continue across parts of Greece and the Balkans over the next couple of days, but it should be turning a little bit drier towards the end of the week. But that heat does continue to rise by the end of the week.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Dubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world, but look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m, only on GB News.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Hello, welcome back. It is, 10 to 11, and this is Britain's Newsroom on GB News.
So we're bracing for Storm Flores. Well, I think we've...
Stop making me laugh
It's
about
already
this.
It's already here. And if you hadn't noticed, there's an amber warning just to let you know that Storm Flores is battering you. Flores is a scent, by the way. I checked it out. It's a very nice scent.
You did bother researching that?
I did. So why would you call a storm Flores?
Well, who knows? I don't know who's named these ones, but what got me, apart from the silly name, is the fact the Met Office, right, OK, warned people to keep their doors shut. Because
you would leave it open, wouldn't you, normally?
It's expected to be unusually windy weather with gusts predicted to reach 85 miles an hour.
There we are, Flores. That's rather nice, doesn't it? Summer scents.
OK,
right.
well,
we've just got some breaking news.
Yeah, breaking
Tyne
news.
Bridge has been closed, not for the first time.
Because of
Storm Flores.
Yeah. That's pretty perfume you've got there.
They're very nice.
A danger
for men and women.
Stop it, Andrew. A danger to life warning has been issued by four parts of the country. So naturally, we have sent a reporter to those parts of the country you're not meant to be. Steve Bennett, let us know how you get on. You're in Lytham St Anne's, I understand. How's it there?
Hi, yeah, good afternoon. Sorry, good morning, everyone. It's awful, to be honest. The wind is getting stronger and stronger. We can barely stand up here on the coast of Lytham St Anne's, which is right next to Blackpool, for those who don't know it, and predicted to be 85, 90 mile an hour winds. And it certainly feels like that currently. We've already been battered by rain, and now the wind is really setting in. Not a sign of anybody, no dog walkers, no joggers, and I recommend that to remain the case. Danger to life warning is in place, and it does not feel safe to be too close to the sea as it currently stands. The good thing about one of these storms this big is they do tend to pass quite quickly, so by tomorrow it's said that the storm would have passed, things will be back to normal. But down in the south, as you can probably tell, you're not receiving any of this. It's just the northwest, Scotland, that are getting the brunt of this storm. So 85 miles an hour, 90 mile an hour winds expected in parts like this, and we can certainly feel that to be the case right now. So stay at home, travel only if you need to. The roads are pretty treacherous when we travelled over here this morning. So our recommendation, having been stood here all morning, is don't bother. Stay safe, stay warm, keep your doors shut, as you said, stay out of the storm.
Very good advice, Steve.
Yeah, stay in front of the telly and watch GB News, I would.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Or listen to it on the radio.
Yeah, if you're walking along that bit of beach that Steve's on there, which I wouldn't advise it does look rather lonely.
Yeah, it's not raining though.
No, come on, Steve. Organise the rain to come back. It looks a bit, a bit wussy. It's just a bit windy.
He's just walked out of vision.
Can't even see the sea. Oh, Steve. Well, Steve from Lytham St Anne's there. Thank you very much.
Lovely part of the world, Lytham St Anne's.
It is beautiful. Thank you. Now, coming up next,
haven't you got to read some text and things?
Well, yeah, I have. I was going to talk about Nigel Farage.
Oh, yes, of course.
Great excitement. Yeah, exactly.
Nigel's doing a major speech this morning. We'll be there.
Yeah.
And a press conference. It's the latest as part of Reform's weekly unveiling new policies on law and order. We think they're going to unveil a new defector, maybe even more than one defector. A Nigel Farage speech is always an event, Dawn.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I wonder if he's going to respond to Jess Phillips, the Home Office Minister for Safeguarding and Violence Against Women and Girls, who doubled down on that Jimmy Savile insult.
Yes, which came from Peter Kyle, the science secretary.
Yeah, if you're against the online safety bill, you are obviously up there with Jimmy Savile.
Paedophiles, which is deeply offensive.
But you don't want to miss it. It's coming up very, very soon, about 11 o'clock. So we'll see you very soon. We've got time for, I think, a quick weather forecast, actually.
I think we have.
We haven't talked about it enough. Here it is.
Even though we'll see a cloudy start, it'll be a bright outlook for the rest of the day. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Good morning. Welcome to your latest GB News weather from the Met Office. Storm Flores has arrived, bringing unseasonably strong winds across the northern half of the country, with an amber weather warning in force later this morning. It's across northern areas that those winds will continue to intensify through the rest of Monday morning. We could see gusts across western Scotland, the north coast of Aberdeenshire, of around 80, 85, potentially even 90 miles an hour. And even across much of northern England and Northern Ireland, we'll see some very strong wind gusts too. Temperatures on Monday will be pretty similar to what we saw on Sunday, but with those strong winds, particularly across the north, it will be feeling quite a bit fresher for all of us. Those strong winds continue as we head through Monday evening, as well as some heavy rain too. We've seen quite a bit of heavy rain around this morning, and we'll continue to see longer spells of rain across the northern half of Scotland, with heavy blustery showers feeding in from the northwest as well, perhaps even the odd rumble of thunder mixed in across Scotland this afternoon and evening. Across Northern Ireland, northern parts of England, those showers perhaps a little more scattered, and the weather front that we've seen sinking its way south and eastwards continues to push offshore, so turning drier for much of England and Wales as we go through Monday night and into the early hours of Tuesday morning. The winds will gradually start to ease into the start of Tuesday morning, but it will still be really quite windy across much of Scotland and even into parts of Northern Ireland too. Brisk northwesterly winds will mean it still is a little bit fresher into the start of Tuesday, although towns and cities will generally be holding up into the double figures for most of us. A brighter start across the south though, plenty of prolonged sunshine, the best of any prolonged sunshine likely across England and Wales through Tuesday afternoon. But across Northern Ireland, Northern England and much of Scotland, we'll continue to see those heavy blustery showers feeding in on that very brisk northwesterly wind. Temperatures will be close to average for most of us on Tuesday, so in the north around 18 or 19 degrees, in the south 22 or 23 degrees.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
This is your chance to live mortgage or rent-free for an entire year. We'll give you a cash lump sum that will cover 12 of your monthly mortgage or rent payments, up to an incredible £20,000. Plus, we'll add £5,000 on top of that for you to treat yourself. You have to hurry though, as lines will close on the 29th of August. For a chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB15 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 29th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK, we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There, you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
11 a.m. on Britain's Newsroom, live across the UK with Andrew Pearce and Dawn Neeson.
Well done. OK, your stories this hour. Reforms war on crime. Nigel Farage will be giving another speech very shortly as he outlines his party's policies on law and order, with the Reform UK leader set to unveil the appointment of a new prison czar.
Smash the gangs, that old cliche, how many times have you heard that? Well, the government's now announced an extra £100 million to fund its one-in, one-out migrant returns deal with France. But as small boats crossings topped 25,000 this year, will this 50 a week really make any difference?
And trans prison row. A prison officer has been sacked after refusing to refer to a Melbourne inmate as she or her because of his Christian faith.
And millions of drivers could be in line to share up to $18 billion in compensation after the city regulator said it would launch a consultation on the growing motor finance scandal. So are you one of those who could be in line for a big payday?
So,
Reform gathering.
yes, so very exciting. Big announcements coming up.
And it's August, so it's quiet politically, so it's a good time for Nigel Farage to be on the front foot. I know the Prime Minister is still working this week, so he's still around. I don't know if Kemi Badenoch's here, actually.
Well, I interviewed Kemi the other day. And
did you?
Farm, so yeah, I mean, she was looking like she was enjoying herself. I should sit on a tractor. Oh, she's got a new job.
Well,
supporting farmers, which is a good thing to do.
When I interviewed for the Mail weeks ago, I said you should speak with the farmers a lot.
Yeah.
And also, she's got a very rural constituency.
Yes, she has. You know, she mentioned that. She's very good to talk to, actually. But if you're listening to us now on the radio, we are about to go live to a Reform press conference, and that's what you can see if you're watching your TV now, waiting for somebody to take the stage.
So, will it be Nigel Farage or will it be David Ball, the chairman of the party?
Yes.
Will he? Nigel is definitely making a speech, but what we're expecting is a major new defector to be announced this morning. Is it going to be a former Tory MP, or maybe a Lord? We'll find out.
You think it might be a former Labour MP at some point? Not now, not this morning, but you do think that...
I don't feel it even vaguely in the wind. Matthew Talbot's with us. Matthew, you've heard any rumours of a Labour defection to Reform?
I mean, it may be major in the Westminster world. I believe the Sun, and perhaps at the Sun, saw that he was hanging out with Tory donor James Hay, which you may or may not know.
Yeah, he gave a lot of money to Liz Truss.
So he was with Nigel Farage at the races at the weekend. So I think the Sun seemed to think that it might be him.
Right.
I think they do need a Labour person, or at least somebody on the left. I think that unless you're willing to basically replace the Tory party, which they sort of, you know, are in a way, you're looking a little bit like a retirement home for disillusioned Tory MPs and Tory people. I think if you want to win the majority of the country, you're not just going to need Tory voters, you're going to need some sort of middle-of-the-roaders as well. I think it'll come. I think there's definitely one MP we should keep an eye on closer to the election.
What, Labour?
Yeah, I won't name names to embarrass him, just in case. I might tell you off air if you're looking. But I think there's definitely one I could foresee happening, maybe closer to the election.
And would Reform know that he's wobbling?
Yes, very pally with Reform, sort of behind closed doors, which there's nothing wrong with. Listen, I get on with people like Lee Anderson, I get on with Nigel on a professional basis. I think they're tapping into something that is a frustration largely with the country, which lots of people resonate with. I think if you truly want to do something differently, I think there are lots of us that feel like we've been governed by elites that don't quite get it, I would say. And having worked with people up close in the Labour Party, it's the same on all sides. And I think, you know, if you really want to do something differently, I think you can win a lot of people over with that.
We also have Alice Grant with us. Alice, the one interesting thing about Reform is not only are they capable of drawing disaffected Conservatives, but also potentially, as Matthew's just been alluding to, disaffected Labour. But the growing number of people supporting them are younger people.
Absolutely, yeah. It's undeniable that a lot of my generation, Gen Z, are attracted to Reform because they have energy momentum. They actually stand for something. Look at the decades of decline under the Conservative Party and under Labour.
Yeah.
That just doesn't appeal. There's nothing there that strikes at the heart of young people who want to own their houses, who can see the skyrocketing energy bills, who are worried about the future of our country. I mean, we are in a state of national crisis on so many fronts, our borders, our energy, our defence. We really need a government that is going to be able to stand for something and to stand strongly for the interests of Britain. So I see how popular it's among my peers.
Do you think, can you see the world where we have a Reform government?
It's so crazy because I have been following Nigel since I was 15.
Right.
Like back in the Brexit Party days. And it's astonishing to think that not only he's now in Parliament, but actually I do think indeed we might be seeing a reform government, but only because things have got really so bad on the Conservative and Labour government. I think COVID sort of killed.
Right, we're just going to...
Right.
Nigel's walked on stage, so he's going to introduce us, so we'll listen to what he's got to say. If you're listening on the radio, Nigel Farage just arrived.
Good morning, everybody.
There we go.
I apologise to cricket lovers in the room. I know that just down the road at the Oval, something rather important is going on. But we think week 3 of our Lawless Britain campaign is quite important too. I definitely think that we've caught the mood of the country with this campaign. All sorts of arguments over statistics, but what is beyond doubt is that there is a very strong and growing perception in the country that something is wrong all the way through from policing on the streets, right through the courts and all the way to the prison system. For us, one of the good things has been the number of new people that we've managed to attract to the campaign, a couple of whom will be joining us, or are joining us today. There is certainly rising public anger out there in the country. As you can see, the number of protests that are taking place outside migrant hotels up and down the country is indeed evidence of that. And increasingly, the migrant hotel issue has moved really from one of fairness, why on earth are people being given all these things, to very much about the safety of women and children. For all the government's talk about protecting children, which they claim is the sole purpose of the Online Safety Act, our criticisms of that and the impositions on free speech that have been imposed just in the first week of its operation have led to them sinking to the depths. I would suggest that comparisons that somehow we're siding with Jimmy Savile were wholly inappropriate at every way. But what we will today be talking about is a cover-up. A cover-up that in many ways is reminiscent of what happened after the Southport killings last year. I will say to all broadcasters when we get to this segment of today's press conference, nothing we say will in any way be in contempt of court. And indeed, to quote Jonathan Hall KC, who is the independent reviewer of terrorism legislation, he said in the wake of Southport that we should spell out the basic and sober facts. And that's exactly what we will do today. But before we get to that segment, I want to introduce you to some people that have joined us and are joining our campaign. Rupert Matthews is the Police and Crime Commissioner for Leicestershire. Formerly, he served in the European Parliament as a member there. He's twice been elected as a Conservative, but today he comes across to us as our first Police and Crime Commissioner. Rupert.
Thank you.
And welcome on board.
Thank you. Well, morning everyone. Now, I've known Nigel off and on for several years, so I asked him what he wanted me to say to you all today. And great man that he is, he said, you can say anything you like, he said, so long as you tell them why you're joining Reform. So here goes. I joined the Conservative Party in 1984. That's over 40 years ago. I joined a Conservative Party that was putting Britain first, that put the British people first, and that championed freedom. The economic decline of the 1970s was overturned, the Falklands were liberated. But now our great country faces new challenges and new dangers. As Police and Crime Commissioner for Leicestershire and Rutland, I daily face the fight against crime. I see ordinary, hard-working people burgled, robbed and mugged. Shoplifting is getting out of control. Antisocial behaviour.
So this is a Conservative Police and Crime Commissioner who's defected to Reform Dawn. I don't think that's going to set the temperatures rising in the country, is it, particularly?
Not really.
I suppose it's a direction of travel, another Tory defector.
Yeah. He previously served as a member of the European Parliament for the East Midlands from June 2017 to 19, and has written books on the paranormal.
Oh,
which
how interesting.
Makes him...
Is there anybody there?
Oh, God, that's a terrible joke. You're full of it today, aren't you?
I got into terrible trouble because when I wrote the piece pointing out that David Ball was going to be the chairman of the party, I pointed out his great TV, he's had many TV jobs, was the thing of, is it called Most Haunted?
Most Haunted.
Yeah, he got very upset about it.
Why?
Because he said he'd done many other things and I called him a Ghostbuster.
That's part of what he did.
Get over it.
So what
it's in
is
your
this?
CV.
So now, basically, we have two Ghostbusters.
Two Ghostbusters.
In the Reform Party.
That could be their new theme song.
Yes,
Ghostbusters. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I wouldn't take it as a really good idea, but...
Well, I hope the next event is a bit more interesting than this one.
Oh, yeah, what do you make of this, Alice? We were talking just now about younger people supporting reform. And, you know, last week we had sort of like another older man wheeled out. This week another older man wheeled out. How does that make you think, you know, get some more young, fresh faces on there?
Yeah, I agree, especially given as that there are some really great young voices on social media, people who make incredible edits as well. I don't know if you've seen them on Twitter, on X, but there are so many really great young up-and-coming political commentators, and actually I think Reform isn't making enough use of them at all. In fact, I know many of them want to be involved, but are just not being sort of...
Who's blocking them?
That's the thing. It's difficult because I think Nigel keeps around him people who are fiercely loyal and tend not to challenge his ideas, but I think a lot of young people sometimes do have different ideas.
Yeah.
And yeah, I again don't want to name any names, but I know some really great.
No, please, Alice, come on. You've said enough now.
Well,
come on.
There are some really, really wonderful young people who are very strongly opinionated for the interests of the country, who care passionately about Britain, and I am surprised that they are not welcomed into Reform, that they're not being sort of pushed more on the social media front, but also on stages like the conference, where I think they could have a real impact and draw a lot more young people as well.
But Farage is right, Matthew, to go on Law and Order, because it's a huge issue for everybody listening, everybody watching. They're all fed up. You never see a copper cut in. Crimes are not investigated. If you lose your mobile phone, that's it. Too bad. If you lose your car, too bad. They don't care.
Yeah, no, it's worth tapping. I think actually going on any other policy than immigration is a good idea, because I think if you're bothered about immigration, it's sort of baked in. You'll probably vote Reform. I think that's pretty safe territory for him, and he can always revert back to that when the news changes and the cycle happens. But I think Law and Order is a useful one. People always want to see ordinarily more bobbies on the beat, and that traditional idea of law and order and punishment. I think the interesting, I don't think if you'd call it a defection, I'm not sure, but the lady who's going to be the prison czar says some interesting things, and things that I'd probably go with, that you do need a greater focus on rehabilitation when it comes to prisoners being released. It shouldn't just be lock everybody up forever sort of thing and hang them and flog them. But no, again, I got in trouble last week. I had a few messages saying I was ageist for calling the old copper last week an old duffer. But, you know, this guy's pale and stale, and it actually reverts back a little bit to establishment time.
We're going to go back to Nigel Farage back at the press conference.
My apologies to Rutland, who often feel left out. Now, I'm now going to introduce you to Vanessa Frake, former governor of HMP Wormwood Scrubs, Sunday Times best-selling author. But actually, I'm not going to do the introduction. Colin Sutton will do the introduction. Colin was with us last week and announced he was setting up a task force, a law and order task force, and I'll let him do the introduction.
Thank you. Good morning again. 7 short days since I was last here and introduced. I've been astounded by the breadth and depth of support that I've had coming from quite unexpected sources, and it just shows me how much there is behind this party, behind this movement, really. It comes today for me to introduce the first of the task force members. Many of those messages of support I've had are from people, good people, who want to help, and I'm sure that some of those will be being brought on board in the coming days and weeks. But the first of those is sitting here to my left. Now, when we govern, and we will, we'll fix the police. We will. But that will be in vain if we don't fix the rest of the criminal justice system. And another important strand of that system is prisons. Prisons have had, you know, like everything else, 14 years of underinvestment. We don't have enough prison space now. What's the Labour answer to it? Let's let thieves and robbers and domestic abusers out after they've served 30% or 40% or 20%, whatever percentage it is this week of their sentence. To space. That will not be the reform way. We can make a start by making sure that the 10,000 plus foreign criminals who are clogging our prisons are deported. And what about the ECHR, you say? That noise you hear is human rights lawyers thumbing through Bentley catalogues. They're going to have to take up shipping or wills and trusts because the ECHR will be no more. That is our policy, and that won't get in the way of making this space with these people. Vanessa, welcome.
Thank you.
Vanessa was 27 years in the prison service. Retired as a governor.
Yes.
Got an MBE for your services to the prison service.
Yeah.
And more importantly, has shared a stage with me on more than one occasion at true crime conferences and so forth. And I cannot say how delighted I am. Vanessa gives us not only the experience of her time in the prison service, but as Nigel said, she's an author, she has a great knowledge of criminology, of crime, how crime works, and I'm sure that her contribution to the task force will be brilliant, and we'll have some fun doing it as well, like we always do, Vanessa, won't we? Thank you. We're going to show a video now.
My name's Vanessa Frake. I am a former prison governor and author.
So we're just about to get Vanessa Frake, who has been on this programme quite a few
She
times.
has,
she's
yeah,
a former
she's
prison
very
governor.
good.
She's very good, and she's got pretty good, strong ideas. Alice, what do you think? So a female well, she's not a defector because I don't think she's ever been part of a political party, particularly. She'd have been a civil servant. She worked as a prison governor.
Very meaningful. These obviously know more than anyone the real issues with our prison service. I was interested to hear mention of the ECHR because that's something that has really affected our prison system, especially in terms of moving some of the most high-risk, dangerous prisoners, the kinds who are involved in these Islamist gangs within prisons, who are moved by prison policy to sort of segregated units, and those are challenged on the basis of Article 8 ECHR. So the ECHR, again, has affected a lot of different spheres of government policy, and in a way that has meant, I think, our country is much less secure, much less safe and running, not in the interest of the people. I hope that will be elaborated on.
You'd keep it under all circumstances, Matthew Torbett, wouldn't you?
No, I think there's... what annoys me is the people that push this as a silver bullet. We had Brexit as a silver bullet to control our borders, and they're more out of control than they ever have been. So I'm worried about bad faith actors, a la Robert Jenrick and others, that go, oh, this will solve everything. I don't think it does. I think there has to be an element of reform of other laws as well.
We're just going back to the press conference now. This is Vanessa Frake, who is a former prison governor, who is joining the Reform Task Force on Law and Order.
Reform UK, and will work with Colin Sutton and others on Reforms UK's Law and Order Task Force. I'm not a traditional politician. I've never been a member of any political party. I've actually had a real job working within our prison service, ensuring criminals are locked up, the public are kept safe, and prison officers are protected. When I started at Wormwood Scrubs, I was assigned the task of cleaning up D-Wing. D-Wing was the lifer wing. It was the worst of the worst, where the lifers spent their time. It was dirty, run down, and had major drug issues. My attitude to the task was assertive and no nonsense. That's the approach that I will take for my role within Reform UK. In 1986, I joined the prison service. I was proud of my job, and I was proud of my service, and I still am. But now, seemingly, everything we hear is negative about the entire justice system. Successive governments, Conservative and Labour, have driven the prison service to its knees through lack of investment, support, and an unwillingness to allow people who know what they are doing to get the job done. The public's confidence in our prison and justice system has been entirely lost. Prison escapes risen by 30% in the last year. Attacks on prison officers are at record highs. There were more than 10,500 assaults on prison staff in the last year alone. Incidents of drug fines in our prisons risen by 25%. Incidents of weapons have risen by 12%. Incidents of mobile phone fines have increased by 14%. Our prisons are in a crisis caused by Labour and the Conservatives. What have the solutions been? They've let 10,000 prisoners out of jail early. To let criminals out of jail before they even serve their full sentence is a disgrace. They have ignored the concerns of the police, probation, prison officers and the public, whose communities will bear the brunt of criminality. Establishment politicians have pretended as if Britain isn't lawless. We all know it is. We see it on a daily basis, rampant criminality on the streets, repeat offenders facing little consequences, and our towns and cities become increasingly unsafe. Successive governments have appeased prisoners such as Axel Rudakabana, the Southport killer, Hashim Abedi, the Manchester Arena bomber, allowing them the freedom to cook their own meals. Why should dangerous murderers and terrorists have this right? A right that they can then use to attack prison officers by throwing hot cooking oil over them and creating improvised blades to stab them with. It's abominable. I would like to see a government that grabs the bull by the horns, and I believe Reform UK, with Nigel Farage as Prime Minister, would be that government. He is the leader this country needs to make Britain a safer and more secure place to live. Let's back the prison service and support them. I want prison officers to be able to do their job without fear of being attacked, and for their families to know that they will get home safe every day. I want a tougher prison regime for prisoners who will never be rehabilitated. I look at the supermax prisons in America, and I'd like to see a version of that replicated in Britain. And for the prisoners who won't serve life sentences, well, let's try and make a real effort at rehabilitation and release them back into the communities to be more useful members of society upon that release. That will be my focus on our task force. That is my background and experience, and it is only right that I look to improve the prison service and ensures it runs as I ran my prison when I was a governor. Reform UK, I believe, can help make that a reality and restore law and order to Britain. Britain is lawless, and Britain and our justice system needs reform, and I'm very much looking forward to being a part of it. Thank you.
Excellent, and welcome. Well, Vanessa, thank you, and it is indeed a very, very sorry tale what is going on in our prisons. Now, I've been wondering for over a year whether the truth was being withheld from the British public. It is not, as I've stated already, in any way at all a contempt of court for the British public to know the identity of those who allegedly have committed serious crimes. I felt that in the wake of the Southport attacks, and I feel that ever more strongly today. You would have seen a story that broke in the Mail on Sunday concerning events in Warwickshire over the course of the last few days, and we're joined today by Councillor George Finch.
So we're just leaving that press conference with Nigel Farage, Dawn?
Yes, we are, because he is talking about the live case of two Afghans who have been charged with rape.
Looks like he's just stopped.
Ah.
Maybe we'll go back. Who's speaking
Should we go back now? Who's speaking now?
Oh, we're not going back. We're not going back.
OK.
I think he's the young gentleman. Is he deputy leader of Rutland Council in Leicestershire? He's only about 19.
Oh, no, that's leader of Warwickshire Council. Yeah, that's
Warwickshire,
19.
sorry, yeah.
No, youngest leader of the council. Terrific, and I think it's great that young people get involved in local government. But I do think 19 is quite young to run a major local authority with £1 billion budgets, don't you?
Well, it's about life experience. That's what we were talking about just now, Alice, wasn't it? About youngsters getting more involved in politics and being more attracted to Reform rather than Labour, which was probably their old-school traditional home, getting more involved. But 19 is very young to be running a council.
It is. At the same time, I feel like if you have that responsibility handed to you at a young age, you want to stand up to the plate as well.
Yeah.
You know, he needs good advisors around him. He needs to defer to people who are senior and respect their opinions and listen to what they're saying. But I think if you're passionate, I don't see a problem surface level with it.
Yeah, and if you're wondering why we did leave that press conference, it was because they were discussing the live criminal case of 2 Afghan asylum seekers who have been charged with sexual assault.
And because of the Contempt of Court Act.
Because of the potential contempt of court.
We can't go near that because they're innocent until proven guilty.
Yes, of course. But the main thrust of what they were saying was we should know the identity of people who have been arrested and charged, because that creates more unrest, Matthew, doesn't it, as we saw in Southport?
Yeah, I think, you know, the idea of a council trying to I don't know about cover it up, but certainly hide the identities. I think they will be under the assumption of a safety thing of, you know, what if quote unquote far right come and stir tensions. The problem is the truth will always out itself, and as we saw during the grooming gangs and many other cases in history, that will cause more problems because it looks like you are aiming to protect people that have potentially done something awful. So it's not very wise, and I think people, you know, we've just got to be honest about what's going on, I think, in the country. I'd sort of agree with that.
OK, I think we are going to move on for now, are we? Yes, we are.
I think that's it from the panel, because we're going to move on. So thank you for coming in.
Thank you very much. Good to see you.
And we are now going to go... Are we going to some weather? Okay.
There's always weather. There's always weather. Probably an amber warning.
At GB News, we are proud to stand for you, for the Britain you love, for the communities you live in. That's what makes us the fearless champions of Britain, its voices and its values. Because we, at GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You've read the headlines, you've heard what those in power have to say. How about now we actually get to the truth?
They would pay attention.
We go beyond the political theatre and tell you what's really going on behind the scenes. For a massive council tax hike, one of the biggest in the UK. Others follow their lines, but we go off script.
You sound like a broken record, you say that week after week.
Cutting through the narratives and giving you unique perspectives. That's Ben Leo tonight, Saturdays and Sundays from 9 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Now, still ahead, a prison officer sacked after refusing to call Melbourne inmates she. How could you lose your job for that?
By stating biological sex? I don't know.
Outrageous. What's happened to this
ridiculous,
country?
yeah.
This is Britain's Newsroom on GB News. We'll give you all the latest on that big story. You've got some texts and emails?
Right, I have got some texts and emails, evidently. Yes,
Because
absolutely.
I don't know how to do them.
Yes, no, you don't know how to do them. You're absolutely rubbish. OK, blah, blah, blah.
You can either.
Can I just take you back to something you said right this
Actually, it's just not a good morning. I can't read any of these out. Keep them coming in, by the way.
Are they not very polite?
No, they are very polite, but they are actually the reason. I need to explain this. No, I need to explain this. The reason we had to cut away from that press conference. You can be rude about him all you want, but the reason we had to cut away from that press conference, because a lot of you are getting angry, is because they were discussing the live case of 2 Afghan asylum seekers who have been charged with sexually assaulting a girl. Now, if we can mention that, we can talk about it, absolutely, of course we can. But you've got to be very careful what you say.
You can't do running commentary on it.
Don't want to be in contempt of court. So while that was OK to take as much of that press conference as we could, we did have to cut away from that. So that's why a lot of you are getting angry, and that's why I can't read the messages out, because that's what you're asking. So I'm telling you that's what we did.
We're not censoring, we're not suppressing.
No, we're not,
following the law,
please.
because you don't... Because if you can commit a contempt of court there, a trial can be stopped, which means men and women who potentially are guilty never even go to court because a newspaper or a broadcaster has broken the Contempt of Court Act. It's very important responsibility for all of us, which is why we have to take it
And that's why I was having
seriously.
trouble reading out some of your comments, because it would put us in contempt of court by just reading them out. And Helena has said, yes, Dawn, you can read our messages out, can't you? Well, I've just explained to Helena I can't read most of them out because it would be legally iffy, to be honest with you. Yes, I can't read them out. No, I can't read them out, Bobby. Lots of you staying.
We've explained it. We've explained it. So now, here's your 60-second news update now with Sophia Hill, of course.
Very good morning. The headlines from the GB Newsroom just after 11:30. The government is pumping an extra £100 million into its fight against people smuggling gangs. The funding will bolster the UK's returns deal with France and pay for 300 new National Crime Agency officers. One person has been arrested during a demonstration outside a migrant hotel in London after fresh protests took place over the weekend, with more than 100 people gathering outside the Britannia Hotel in Canary Wharf on Sunday. Now, in the last half hour, Nigel Farage has announced more defections to Reform UK as the party leader announces their first Police and Crime Commissioner, Rupert Matthews, and the appointment of the party's Justice Advisor, former prison governor Vanessa Frake. Tyne Bridge has now closed in both directions, and the Forth Road Bridge has been closed to double-decker buses. That's as Storm Flores hits the UK. And pro-Palestinian activists are planning to target Labour MPs, councillors and officers today, demanding a tougher stance against Israel. Millions of drivers could be owed compensation over mis-sold car finance, as regulators say the payouts could total up to £18 billion. Those are the headlines for now. More news at the top of the hour.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
OK, now thank you so much for those news bulletins, Sophia. Up next, a prison officer was sacked before he even started his job for misgendering an inmate after refusing to call a Melbourne prisoner as she or her. I mean, you can't make this stuff up, can you?
Why would you be sacked for that?
Because they were upset. In any case, that's a former. We were talking about.
We've got so many prison officers, haven't we?
Yeah. Well, we were talking about veterans earlier, and that chap has served in Afghanistan.
Real experience of life. perfect job, perfectly qualified to work in the
But
prison.
refuses to accept that biological
On
sex
religious grounds.
is a fact, yeah.
And he's been sacked.
Anyway, we're doing that story now, so get your thoughts coming in on that one. I will read them out this time. This is Britain's Newsroom on GB News. Don't go too far, we'll see you soon.
Hello again and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. Storm Flores is now pushing across Scotland, bringing unusually strong winds for August, even in a windy part of the country, and disruption is likely from these exceptionally high winds for August. Here's Storm Flores. It rapidly deepened overnight. It is now swinging into the west and northwest of Scotland. A band of rain will cross the country associated with this, pushing south and east along with some gusty winds. But the main cause for concern are the winds, which will peak mid to late morning across western Scotland and then mid to late afternoon into the evening across the north and northeast of Scotland. We're talking about widely northern UK, 50 to 60, perhaps 70 mile/hour wind gusts, and in a narrow swathe across the west of Scotland into the north of the mainland, Orkney as well. There's the risk of 80 to 90 mile/hour wind gusts, and it's this band of heavy rain and showers where we'll see the strongest of the winds during the rest of Monday, and those wind strengths could cause considerable impacts, especially given that it's August. Obviously, a lot of people travelling and taking part in outdoor activities. Showers following the main band of rain, and it's going to stay windy overnight, but the worst of the winds will ease during the evening. It's also going to be a very showery night across Scotland, Northern Ireland, Northern England and North Wales. Clearer skies further south, less windy across southern parts of the UK, certainly during the next 24 hours. A mild night to come for all of us because of the wind, but the main impacts from those winds tending to ease into the morning as Flores pushes into Norway. And we're going to see further showers. A blustery day to come on Tuesday, but nowhere near as windy as Monday. There'll be some bright spells in between the showers, and the winds certainly dying down during the day, with temperatures recovering well. 24 Celsius in the south, high teens further north.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Dordme, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
So the time is now 11:38. Britain's Newsroom with GB News with Andrew and Dawn. So we've been talking about this, the prison officer who lost his job. Oh no, actually we're going to get. In fact, we're going to talk to Mark White first because we want to talk to him about this extra £100 million being announced by the government to smash people smuggling gangs. I'm sorry, I've heard it all before. Mark White, tell me why I shouldn't be so cynical.
I think you've every right to be cynical, to be honest. £100 million, while in the greater scheme of things in government spending isn't a huge amount, it is for parts of the country where people are struggling, and there is projects and investment that could be ploughed into, more useful, as they would see it, alternatives closer to home. But in terms of what the money will be used for, we know that, according to the government, 300 more National Crime Agency officers will be created. I think that's to be welcomed. But more money for the French, and it will be millions, for a project that will see, initially at least, just 5% of those coming across the English Channel return to the European Union. I'm not sure that many people would think that that was particularly a good investment, because 5%, in other words 95% of those coming across the Channel won't be returned to the European Union. So where is the deterrent factor in that? Many people would argue. And, you know, the government say they are running this out as a pilot, and if it's successful, it will be expanded. But how do you determine something is successful if the metric is whether it's proving to be a deterrent? Well, the fact that 95% of those coming across the Channel are not going to be removed is not going to provide the deterrent.
All right, Mark, that's Mark White. Thank you so much for that. So he said I was entitled to be sceptical and cynical, wasn't I, Dawn?
You were, very much so, yeah, absolutely.
Now, this is a story we've trailed in the programme for. And
Can I just reiterate one thing, though, by the way, because I'm getting so much abuse now. The reason we cut away from that Reform press conference was a legal reason. They were discussing a live court case that we could have got in all sorts of trouble. Legally, it's not my decision, it's not an editorial decision. The case of the two Afghans who have been charged with sexually assaulting a girl. That's all we can say about this, because it is going to court.
And the thing is, if a TV station or radio station break the Contempt of Court Act and effectively have a running commentary on an ongoing court case, the court case can just be cancelled there and then.
Yes.
So the accused never
walk free, and we don't want to be responsible for that, and I'm pretty sure you don't either.
So that's why.
Just to be calm.
So this prison officer was sacked even before he started his job. He had a long experience in the military because he misgendered an inmate because he refused to call a male-born transgender she.
Oh, God. Army veteran David Toshak was dismissed by one of the UK's largest security firms during a training course just days before taking up a role as a prison custody officer.
Well, let's talk to Connie Shawes, who's from the Free Speech Union, one of our favourite organisations. Connie, lovely to see you.
Connie, good to see you.
Can you believe this?
No. So when the headlines say he was sacked on the spot, he seriously was.
Really?
So David Toshak, as you say, an army veteran, he was prepared to die for his country.
Yeah.
And now he was undergoing a 6-week training course to become a prison custody officer, so someone who transports prisoners back and forth to where they need to be. In a safeguarding session, they were talking about how to deal with trans prisoners, and the topic of preferred pronouns came up. And throughout the training course, throughout the whole 6 weeks, he had said previously that he wouldn't be able to, in good conscience, call a male prisoner or a female prisoner by the opposite sex pronouns, calling a man she, for example. And in this specific session that was being run by a safeguarding lead, which he hadn't met before, when he gave his honest answer to a question, he was ordered to leave the room as though he was a naughty schoolboy.
No.
And within half an hour, he was marched into a meeting and told that he was being dismissed for his strong views. They even said that his strong views were incompatible with their policy and the law. These people, it's like they want to be taken to an employment tribunal for a laugh.
Well, absolutely, it's not. I mean, he was on the right side of the law, by the way.
Yes.
So, Connie, how did he articulate his views? I'm assuming he didn't say it in an aggressive manner. It was...
So this is the other thing. Extremely calmly, extremely polite. All of his feedback throughout the entire training course was that he was excellent, really good, pretty much an ideal person for the job. He's an ex-army veteran. He's, you know, you can't really find someone who'd be better for someone for a role like this. But once he appealed the decision to dismiss him, they then changed the reason for why that they dismissed him. They then claimed that it was the manner in which he expressed his views. They said that he was aggressive. It's a completely unfounded claim.
So that's because they think they're on dodgy territory.
Well, they really are. And we can't forget as well, so Scotland, obviously, as we know, is extremely captured with gender ideology. We have the famous cases of Isla Bryson, the male rapist who was housed in a women's prison, Tiffany Scott, another sex offender who was a male sex offender who was housed in a women's prison. In their official legal response, GeoAmy, who, as you say, big company, it's a private company contracted by the government to employ people, they cited the guidance of the Scottish Prison Service, which still says that some men can be housed in women's prisons.
But that's against a Supreme Court judgment.
Yeah.
It is. And also...
Which comes way after what happened in Scotland.
Yes. And they've also seemingly just forgotten about the fact that gender-critical views are a legally protected characteristic in the Equality Act.
Yeah, quite. Where next for David Toshak?
So the FSU are helping him fund his case. So there's a crowdfunder, which we'd be very grateful for support for him from your viewers, which we're always very grateful for their support. And we're still raising money for him to go to the Employment Tribunal.
So he is going to fight this?
Yes, absolutely.
Quite right too, and we should support him and cheer him on, because he is entitled to his view. It's a Christian view, I think he was expressing, wasn't it?
Yeah. Well, he happens to be a Christian, but this is just about biological fact.
Yeah, quite.
You know, he happens to be a churchgoer, but that's not really necessarily the basis of his views.
No.
I'm an atheist. I know what a woman is. I know what a man is.
Yeah, well, the trouble is, it took a long time for the Prime Minister to work it out, and that's where a lot of this problem begins.
Well, our Foreign Secretary still thinks you can grow your own cervix, but that's neither here nor there. The Toshak says, Mr. Toshak says, I've been prepared to go and fight and die for my country, and then I come back here and I've been told there's certain things you can't think or can't say, and that's a damning indictment on where we are now, isn't it?
So if people want to help him financially, what do they do?
On the FSU website, it's all over our Twitter page, it's on the Instagram. Please go and donate.
So you go on the Free Speech Union website, you'll find the David Toshak if you want to help him. And I have to say, Dawn, I'm going to make a donation.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think I will as well. I mean, it's just a normal working-class person, never been in trouble in law before, not got a criminal record, lived a good life, and just wanted to do a good job.
And it's not as if the prison service is overflowing with volunteers who are qualified for the job.
I know. And when I spoke to David and I said, because he's been a member of the FSU since way before this happened, I said to him, did you ever imagine when you bought your membership that something like this would happen to you? And he said, no, can't believe that it's happened to him.
Right.
And he's being extremely brave. Yeah. Anyone who stands up against this publicly is extremely brave.
Yeah, well, that's why we're going to support
Connie, thank you so much for joining us.
Now, we've got a statement to read out from this wretched company. They're called GeoAmy, and it says, as this matter will be subject to tribunal proceedings, it would not be appropriate to comment at this time. What was the point of that statement, then?
This is probably best not comment on it then, Andrew? We're in enough trouble already this morning. Moving on, if you are in... Let's talk about the weather, that's easy, isn't it? If you are in search of some holiday sun, here is a forecast for those top European destinations. Probably no amber warnings, but who knows?
You're looking happy.
Well, the forecast looks good.
So you've sorted the travel insurance then?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
It's a bit of a mixed picture across much of Europe over the next couple of days, with thunderstorms across parts of the Balkans, but across parts of Spain and Portugal, we're going to see that heat building over the next couple of days. Maximum temperatures could be reaching up to around 40 degrees and minimum temperatures not dropping much below 20 degrees overnight too. Those thunderstorms will continue across parts of Greece and the Balkans over the next couple of days, but it should be turning a little bit drier towards the end of the week. But that heat does continue to rise by the end of the week.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Welcome back to Britain's Newsroom with Andrew and Beth.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christie's here.
I'm Michelle Jupiter. Britain's News Channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GB News family with you on any device. And as long as you have an internet connection, tune in to GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel. At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m, only on GB News.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more.
Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Hello, welcome back. It is 10 to 12. Golly gosh. This is Britain's Newsroom with Andrew and Dawn. Now, millions of drivers could be owed compensation over missold car finance, and the regulator says payouts could total up to £18 billion.
Look, if that comes off people's insurance, you know what that means? Car insurance is going to go up. There's no such thing as a free lunch.
No, that's true, yeah. The Finance Conduct Authority says lenders failed to properly disclose commission payments to car dealers between 2007 and 2021 and is now preparing to consult on a redress scheme by October.
Well, let's talk to Director and Chief Investigator for Sentinel Legal, Sam Ward, who joins us now. Sam, I've been listening to you. You've been talking really interesting stuff the last few days. 18 billion, that's a big, big sum of money. And how quickly can that be repaid to the people who are owed it?
Well, it's a big sum of money, but I think it's going to get much bigger, if I'm completely honest, Andrew. I think what the FCA has proposed in regards to a consultation regarding redress is something that the FCA has been aware of since April 2017. You know, we're 8 years down the line. We've had the Supreme Court rule that this is unfair and confirm that the lenders did breach the FCA's own rules, and it's taken the FCA 8 years just to arrive at this point. So I wouldn't be saying that we're going to see any form of compensation that is actually fair and weighted appropriately for UK car drivers anytime soon. I think if I could give any advice to the FCA right now, it would be, after 8 years, the time is not to rush this. It's to liaise with law firms such as Sentinel Legal and HD Law, who was Mr. Johnson's solicitor, who appealed it all the way up to the Supreme Court. Look at the evidence, look at what we found out from years of working this in court, and let's make sure that this is absolutely, categorically 100% fair for the great British public.
And Sam, just quickly, as Andrew's pointed out, there's no such thing as a free lunch. This money has to, if people do eventually get it, has to come from somewhere. Is this going to see our car insurance premiums go up? I mean, punters normally end up paying.
No, it'd be nothing to do with your car insurance. Your car insurance is provided by a completely independent insurance provider. This is coming directly from the bank. So in the Black Horse case, you've got Lloyds Bank, you've got Santander UK, you've got Close Brothers Finance. It will be the car finance lenders and ultimately the banks that pay for this, just like it was in PPI.
OK, brilliant. Thank you very much, Sam.
I didn't realise that.
No, actually, it's Sam Ward, investigator for Sentinel Legal there. Thank you.
Banks always get their money back somehow.
Well, they're going to put your service charges up.
Of course they are.
They're going to put your overdraft charges up. No,
exactly.
that's how it works. Well, that's it from Britain's Newsroom. Thank you so much for joining us. Sorry about being double croaky.
Yeah, sorry about that.
But thank you for joining us. Yeah, up next is Good Afternoon Britain with Tom and Lynette, who are both in fine fettle, I understand. But
glad to see it, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah, thanks for watching.
Oh, are we now?
Apparently we are in fine fettle, so that's news to us. But of course, the government is spending £100 million on getting this one-in, one-out migrant deal that is yet to return a single migrant. This as protests awash the migrant hotels. What's going on?
Absolutely. And did you know it's National Allotment Week next week? But Angela Rayner is planning to bulldoze them, apparently. We'll reveal why.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello again and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. Storm Flores is now pushing across Scotland, bringing unusually strong winds for August, even in a windy part of the country, and disruption is likely from these exceptionally high winds for August. Here's Storm Flores. It rapidly deepened overnight. It is now swinging into the west and northwest of Scotland. A band of rain will cross the country associated with this, pushing south and east along with some gusty winds. But the main cause for concern are the winds, which will peak mid to late morning across western Scotland and then mid to late afternoon into the evening across the north and northeast of Scotland. We're talking about widely northern UK, 50 to 60, perhaps 70-mile-per-hour wind gusts, and in a narrow swathe across the west of Scotland into the north of the mainland, Orkney as well. There's the risk of 80 to 90-mile-per-hour wind gusts, and it's this band of heavy rain and showers where we'll see the strongest of the winds during the rest of Monday, and those wind strengths could cause considerable impacts, especially given that it's August. Obviously, a lot of people travelling and part in outdoor activities. Showers following the main band of rain, and it's going to stay windy overnight, but the worst of the